Good afternoon. Welcome to the Lincoln City Council meeting of Monday, August the 5th, 2024. Please be advised that a copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted at the back of the chambers by the northwest door. Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a short moment of silent meditation, and please remain standing if you're able. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
He is coming.
The order of business of council is as follows. The clerk will call the items listed on the agenda under public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on an item must first register and sign in at the table located in the lobby. The council shall require any member of the public addressing the council to identify themselves, the name of any organization represented by such person, and their address, unless the address requirement is waived to protect the security of the individual. Each speaker should state whether they are speaking in favor or in opposition to the item, and testimony is limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item should come forward after the clerk reads the item and the applicant has presented. After public comments, the applicant may make one short rebuttal. After all public hearings, the council will vote on resolutions and items listed under third reading. If this was the second or last Monday of the month immediately prior to adjournment, anyone would be able to speak on an issue not on the agenda for that date, nor planned for a future agenda. We ask that all speakers, no matter when you speak, strive for civility and allow the business of council to proceed unimpeded. Will the clerk please read the first item of business?
Okay. Our first item of business today for our council meeting on Monday, August 5th, 2024. Today's meeting will consist of two parts. First, we will address our regular council agenda and proceed with adjournment. Following that, we will move on to the budget agenda and public hearing. Public hearing on the budget. Immediately following the regular council meeting, there will be a public hearing on the 1 and 6 year street and highway program, the mayor's recommended 2024-26 operating budget, and the capital improvement program for 2024 through 2030. Next is our consent agenda, sections 1, sections 2, and 3.
Is there anyone here today who'd like to speak on an item that is listed for consent? That's reports of city officers, petitions and communications, and miscellaneous referrals. Items 1, 2, and 3. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak on an item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Madam Clerk.
Next is section 4, ordinances third reading and related resolutions. I'll call item 4A, change of zone 24016, application of Diamond Enterprises LLC to change the zone from H3 Highway Commercial to I1 Industrial on property generally located at 3501 West O Street, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second?
Second, Carlson. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the vote.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried, 6-0. Item 4B is text amendment 24008, application of Youth Actors Academy of Lincoln to amend Lincoln Municipal Code Section 27.02.020 definitions to modify the definition of academies by adding additional clarification for different types of academies within the definition and additional language related to events and performances associated with academies, introduced by Weber.
So moved.
Second?
Second, Carlson. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk.
Weber,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Duden,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried, 6-0.
All right. Let's proceed to first readings.
Section 5, resolutions first readings are items 5A through 5D. Section 6 is ordinances first readings and related resolutions, items 6A through 6C. And then our pending list are items 7A through 7H.
All right.
Adjournment now?
We can now move up for adjournment of this meeting.
I would move adjournment of the regular meeting of the Lincoln City Council of August 5th.
Second.
Second, Weber. Becky has made the motion. All right, any discussion? Good. Madam Clerk?
Duden,
Yes.
Schob,
Yes.
Beckius,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Weber,
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
All right. Now that we have adjourned that portion of the meeting, we will move forward to a public hearing on the 2024 City of Lincoln operating budget.
Next is our budget presentation. We will call all budget agenda items as a single package. City staff will make a single budget presentation covering all agenda items. Then we will have public testimony. Reminder that testifiers may use their time to comment on any of the items within the overall budget package, and we kindly ask that those using public transportation please come forward and testify first. Once the public hearing, presentations, and comments have concluded, we will adjourn for the evening, and thank you for your cooperation. Budget presentation. Before we begin, I will read the state-required language. The public hearing on the 24-26 budget is today. However, the resolutions and ordinances will be delayed for the actual vote on Monday, August 26th. For the record, I want to communicate how the City of Lincoln is within compliance with the state statute 13-506. This budget hearing is being held separately from any regularly scheduled meeting of the City of Lincoln City Council and is not limited by time. Notice of place and time of this budget hearing and a summary of the proposed budget statement was published at least 4 calendar days prior to the date set for the budget hearing. The publication date in the Lincoln Journal-Star was July 30th of 2024. Any member of the public desiring to speak on the proposed budget statement is allowed to address the City of Lincoln City Council at today's hearing and will be given a reasonable amount of time to speak. At least 3 copies of the proposed budget statement are available to the public and can be found in the hallway outside the council chambers. A presentation outlining key provisions of the proposed budget statement, including a comparison with the prior year's budget, will begin shortly. Items 8A through 8S and item 9A through 9D in the following sections related to the fiscal year 2024-26 budget and will be called as a package for the purposes of presentation and testimony. Public hearing on the 2024-26 City of Lincoln operating budget.
All right. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Chair Washington, council members, I'm John Carlson. I'm here with the budget team today with the directors and staff who are in the chambers and also in the studio. We thank you for the chance to talk about the proposed 24-26 city budget. As the clerk mentioned, we'll be making a single presentation on all the budget package items. We can start for the benefit of the public and the viewing public, kind of with the check-in on where we are in the process. As you know, we've been working together actually for many months before June to put together draft budgets and to get input and feedback. And we've had the mayor deliver a budget, we've had department budget presentations, we've had continued conversations. Today is an important day. We get to hear from the public on our budget public hearing. And then following that, as you know, with your own council resolution, council will submit proposed changes, discuss, vote on those tentative changes, all of which is leading to August 26th when the council votes on the budget after we've laid over the items today for more consideration and a final vote on the 26th. That all happens ahead of our September 1st fiscal year when the city's new fiscal year and budget begins. City budget is one of the most significant ways that we all work together to try and advance our collective vision for Lincoln, which is leading Lincoln toward a more successful, secure, and shared future. How do we know if we're achieving that vision? We use budget outcomes. Safer and healthier city. Is the city becoming safer and healthier, more economically and culturally vibrant, more strong and resilient, equitable and inclusive, innovative and operationally excellent? You'll see these themes come up over and over again as we do the presentation because we organize our work, our programs, our staffs in order to achieve these outcomes, and they measure their performance against these outcomes. Are their programs achieving these outcomes? If not, alter them. If they are, do more of them. Make sure that we're getting efficient use of the resources available in order to provide these outcomes in service of the vision. And we are seeing success. Take public safety, our top priority. To date, our current city investments continue to support a very safe community, as indicated by these drop in crimes at a 20-year low. Cardiac arrest survival rate, another great indicator that LFR and our emergency services are working with community partnerships to help achieve better survival rates and healthier outcomes for Lincoln families and residents. If you live in Lincoln, Nebraska, you're more than twice as likely to survive a cardiac incident. So great work by those emergency services. City investments are also contributing to our strong economy here in Lincoln. That strong economy that provides jobs for the community members and supports city growth overall. As we've talked about before, our city departments have processed more residential building permits over the past 3 years than any time in history. So during this time, we've issued permits for over 7,500 new residential units, new homes for new families or families moving up, families moving to different homes, an average of 2,500 per year. And that work together continues to launch Lincoln to new heights. It's great to be recognized nationally on different polls, different magazines, different websites that track these things. 5th safe, healthiest city, top 5 cleanest air, 7th best city for renters, 10th best city for young professionals, #1 city in America for retirement, #1 safest city for pedestrians, 6th best run city in America. So again, some of these polls, they use different algorithms, different factors to do that. But the important thing is that the message is getting out that Lincoln is a place where people want to be, they want to invest, they want to live. So the good news is that together we are growing that safe and successful city. Building on that success, the proposed 24-26 biennial budget is going to continue on delivering exceptional city services while further enhancing the quality of life for everyone here in Lincoln. So our goal, again, is to cultivate the quality of life capital here in America, to grow new economic opportunities, to advance our goal to make Lincoln the safest and healthiest capital city in the country, and to continue to support strong neighborhoods and an even more dynamic downtown for residents and visitors alike. The total community investment in that service, how the community is collectively using their funds to reinvest in the community to achieve those ends, in year 1 is $282 million. That's year 1 of the budget, fiscal year 24-25. $293 million in fiscal year 25-26. Just as a side note for people watching, the city budget contains multiple funds and it's also supplemented by a capital budget and utility budgets. While today we'll be discussing major capital investments alone, a lot of our focus is on the tax-funded budget because that's the questions that we get in part that people are interested in. So 2 examples here of the tax-funded budget that's proposed for today. How does that compare to previous years? Well, we're seeing a continued steady city growth. The community tax-funded investments have grown as the city has grown. As we mentioned, $282 million is an increase of $21 million over the previous year. Year 2's proposed $293 million is an increase of $10 million over year 1 proposed budget. $261 million in the current budget, $253, $235 as you go back. So you see that steady growth and that steady reinvestment in our community. People ask, then what drives $21 million of additional investment in that first year of the budget, fiscal year 24-25? And there are some very specific things. Top priority and most significantly is our investments in public safety. Lincoln Fire and Rescue contract has been renegotiated for a 3-year contract. That includes in year 1, $3.5 million in increased investment, including their benefits. The police and fire combined pension is an increased contribution of $2.6 million. We have to continue to increase investment to make sure that we honor those commitments to retired police officers and firefighters. We do see the overall city team that's helping to work to maintain those programs and the services the community wants. A $5.2 million investment in order to make sure that our 2,300 plus team members are able to continue to perform their jobs. The overall budget is increasing that team by 2.77 FTEs. That's a funding total of $267,000. People have asked me presentations, how do you get 0.77 of a person? You don't, of course. We had a person that was 0.77 grant funded, working on a job. We're going to put them now in the budget. The grant funding ended. We want them to be able to continue to work and do the project they were working on. Another significant investment, which can be invisible sometimes to some people, is that we've experienced decreased revenue and increased costs for StarTran. We have a priority to make sure that public transit continues to be robust and available to the persons that use it to get to work, to get to school, to get to the doctor's office, the places they need to go. We've seen those increased investments of necessary over $2 million just to accommodate the decreased revenue and increased costs to make sure that the service remains at its current service levels and that the rates don't have to be changed for riders. Some of the things that have contributed to that are state funding cut by over $650,000. UNL removed a route which decreased funding, and we've seen increased fuel costs to make sure the system continues to operate. One important thing that we want to note here that we'll talk in a following slide a little bit more in details is that we're experiencing long lead times for heavy equipment in order to make those purchases and get those vehicles delivered to the city. So what we're going to try and do in this budget is we're going to front load this budget. We would have been purchasing vehicles and ordering them over both budget years, but we're seeing sometimes up to 2 years of wait just to get those vehicles once we've ordered them. So we're going to take all those purchases and advance them into year 1. So that's one of the reasons that the budget years look 21 versus 10. Why are they tipped over like that? It's because we're advancing that funding into year 1 to make sure that we can have the money available, That allows us to do the purchase contracts and get in the queue to get delivery of those vehicles. We're talking about snow plows, fire trucks, pothole spray patchers, forestry boom trucks, lots of heavy equipment that we want to make sure we can get delivered to the city in time to perform those services. And finally, we're seeing inflation just like any other business or any other resident. There are just general small increases in costs of materials, rents, utilities, and more. So a slightly deeper dive on accelerating that vehicle delivery with bundling the purchases we talked about. In order to make those purchases, we're going to use a financing vehicle called Municipal Infrastructure Bonds, or MIBs. So if you hear people talking about MIBs, that's what they're talking about. In the past, it was COPS, Certificates of Participation. Now it's MIBs, which is a funding vehicle that the council can approve. So we'll take those heavy equipment vehicles, bundle them together. That's a total purchase cost of $8.3 million to try and deal with those long lead times. Get them in the queue for faster delivery. The MIBS authorization that is on your agenda today will then show those manufacturers that we have the funds to back up making the purchases. This timing happens to align with the normal cycle of streetlight funding. Every 2, 3, 4 years, we do a MIBS or a COPS issuance in order to continue to grow the streetlight system. That's $3.7 million. We don't want to go out for 2 issuances. We want to send our bond counsel out just for 1 issuance, so save costs to process those. So we'll put those 2 together. That's a total of $12 million. The authorization that's on your agenda is actually for up to 12.2. That gives them just a tiny little bit of headroom and cushion when they actually take it to market. They don't want to come in under and have to come back and miss the chance to sell the bonds at market. And we've got our bond advisors and counsel, Scott Keene and Colleen Brown, are also here as needed if you have questions later. So the vehicles are a small but important part of the overall community investment in our budget. What remains consistent is that public safety is the #1 community priority. And as folks can see here, police, fire, and the combined police and fire pension comprise the largest part of the budget. It's over half, 55% of that budget is dedicated to public safety. Those budget investments for public safety and everything else come from multiple funding streams that are necessary to support these programs and services. For the tax-funded budget, specifically, the 3 main revenue sources are the sales tax, property tax, and then the package of other revenues, which includes occupation tax, charges for services, fees, grants, other miscellaneous sources. So those are kind of the 3 legs of the stool: sales tax, property tax, and the combined package of other smaller fees and funds. The largest of which is sales tax. People don't often know that, but sales tax is the single largest funding source for the city budget. This year, 36%, over property tax, 34%, and the other revenues. So let's take a little closer look at what sales tax has been doing that allows reinvestment. As we talked about before, our economy remains steady and strong. You could take this chart back probably 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, and you'd see much the same, which is great. So slow and steady. Lincoln doesn't see these wild swings in our economy. We see some movement up and down, but in general, we see this kind of slow and steady growth. People will notice the bump that did occur in the chart there. That's due to the pandemic and the pandemic spending that occurred. The federal government put money into the economy for the pandemic. People took that money and they spent it. They spent it on masks, they spent it on vaccine, fuel, everything that was needed in order to deal with the pandemic. That translated into the sales tax bump that you see here. But then you can see after the bump, we're returning our projections back to the more normal, slow, steady growth, because that is a one-time event and we wouldn't want to budget based on that kind of a sales tax being pushed into the economy. So slow, steady growth. We project that the sales tax will remain level in the first year of the budget and rise modestly in the second year. One way that we continue to support that successful community growth that we've seen over the time is by the 1% authorization that's also a part of this budget package and agenda item. We're lucky that, as we talked about before, Lincoln continues to be a place where people want to live, businesses want to locate, businesses want to expand. City economic growth helps then fund the services that are needed by those new homes and businesses. State law allows municipalities to accept growth of 2.5%. It also allows the local body, yourselves, to increase that growth allowance by 1%. That's routinely approved by hundreds of Nebraska cities and counties every year. The concern would be without the additional 1%, we could have new businesses and new homes expanding the tax base and allowing for additional investment, but we wouldn't be able to invest that new money into the new fire station or the new parks or the new services that they need in order to live in Lincoln the way everyone else can. So this is kind of a routine, systemic thing to do, but an important thing to do. Looking a bit at property tax levy. As we invest and grow, we continue to make strategic but fiscally smart decisions with community tax dollars. We know there's a sensitivity to property tax. As you can see here, we think that our teams do a good job of turning those dollars into really efficient programs that the community wants. Lincoln's property tax levy is the 9th lowest of the 15 largest cities in Nebraska by population. For these 2 budget years, the property tax levy will remain level, 0.29533. As this body knows, the tax rate's been cut 3 out of the last 4 years. For these 2 years in the budget, it's proposed to stay level, not to increase. And it's also important for Lincoln taxpayers to remember that the city receives just 17% of that total property tax bill. So when you get it, for every property tax dollar, Lincoln teams are receiving 17 cents of that. And in return, they're turning that into 24/7 police and fire protection, parks, pools, libraries, investments that the community lead. So our teams are incredibly efficient about turning that 17 cents into infrastructure investment and services that grow our economy and protect our high quality of life. So what we see then overall is that that strong economy is providing continued investment in our growing community. And I'd like to take a couple slides to show some examples of what that investment is going to be under those banners of the outcomes we're trying to achieve. So safe and healthy city. We talked a little bit about this before, but we've got police and fire contracts that are including pay raises for our first responders to remain competitive. We've got Lincoln Fire and Rescue's replacing their training tower that's down near 6th and South. It's an old cement tower that's in bad shape. They need a new training tower. This budget recognizes 18 new firefighters and firefighter paramedics that we have via a federal SAFER grant that has helped funding them for the next 3 years, but we need to put them in the budget and recognize that as an ongoing obligation. The CIP proposes improvements to fire station facilities all across the community and proposes a new Northwest Police Team Station. That's in the CIP, proposed as a general obligation bond that would happen in 2025. That's a discussion that we need to have with the community over the next months to see that they're interested in that and for them to understand the need to be able to continue to provide those services. As we mentioned before, we're increasing the police and fire pension to make sure that it's fully funded, so when those professionals retire, that they're able to have their pensions funded. And we're adding 1 grant-funded Lincoln Police Community Resource Specialist. That's our Operation Tipping Point, which is our youth gang prevention program. Continuing on with Safe and Healthy City, we're continuing $166,000 worth of funding for mental health services through our partnerships, training, and peer support programs with crisis response. This also supports our new co-responder program that puts mental health professionals on the scene with police officers. Sometimes a person in crisis is not needing a police officer, they're needing peer support or mental health professional services. We continue with lots of programs for the health department that protect and promote that public health, continued investment in transportation and intersection improvements to help with traffic safety, school zone standards, many, many miles of traffic signals, signs, pavement markings, symbols, and crosswalks. And we are providing an additional housing inspector for the building and safety team. Right now they have 5 team members, 1 for each quadrant, and a chief housing inspector. We're adding 1 more person to help deal specifically with the increase in Airbnbs that we're seeing in the community. That person also is available then as a backup to help with housing inspection services across the community. Environmental health fees. So our health department is essential to protecting that community health and public safety that we see in that outcome. Part of the budget package today are the fees that help fund those health programs. You'll have noticed on your agenda, those different health department fees have to be approved by ordinance, and they're in a lot of different sections of the code. So 12 different separate actions on your agenda to account for health. That's just the way that it's set up. It's different from EMS and planning. You'll see that their fees are all packaged together in one single item. But when people look at it down there and say, what is all this stuff? 12 of those agenda items are just the health department changing a different fee for a different particular purpose. How do they decide how to set those fees? Well, their guidance is that most of their work should be funded either by fees or by grant funds. They have a business and advisory committee that helps them, that gives them feedback and recommends that they'd like to see the smaller regular fee increases to match increased costs rather than waiting and doing big increases spaced farther apart. A little bit of a dive into what we're seeing then. What does that mean? Well, some of those 12 different changes, you can see most of them are in the 2 to 3% range, which typically will equate to about a $5 increase for most permits. Obviously, with a percentage, it depends on the size of the permit. Occasionally, there are some of these that have very expensive permits, like to regulate a power plant. That's an expensive permit, so it'll be more than $5 for 3%. But in general, salvage, recycle, composting, $5 increase in year 1. Open burning permits, $5 both years. Body art establishment, $5. Food code, 2 to 3%. Noise control fees, solid and special waste, water wells, swimming pools. They're all kind of following that general range, $5 to $10. On-site water and wastewater permits, again, $5 in both years. Stormwater discharge permit, a little bit more expensive permit, it's 2%, but $10 to $15 depending on the size of the permit. And air pollution control regulations also following that general theme of 3%. Did want to note for the people watching at home or here in the chambers, childcare fees are also a program that's regulated by environmental health, but there are no increase in fees in either budget year 1 or budget year 2 for childcare programs. I mentioned EMS before. Emergency medical service, or EMS rates, are an item on the agenda today. A reminder to the public that the incredible ambulance and medical response we enjoy here in Lincoln operates as a separate enterprise fund. So that means the transport and other fees that are associated with a call pay for that service. And it's critical that the rate structure is adjusted to continue to meet those costs for employee wages and benefits, vehicles, and equipment. The proposed rate increase is based on what LFR has done an analysis to understand to keep their high existing level of service. And they do have an oversight authority that helps them in that analysis, and that has recommended the 5% rate increase in both year 1 and year 2. That authority is made up of community professionals and firefighter personnel. Emergency alarm system is an item that's on your agenda today. These are alarm systems that automatically will notify 911 dispatch, and they're required to register and pay a small fee to help maintain that service and those communications. You'll see on your agenda that business and commercial fees are increasing $10 from $40 to $50. Residential fees, $5 from $25 to $30. These fees were last increased in 2011, so it's probably timely to keep those up to date to make sure that we're able to continue to provide that good connection and those good services. In addition to health and safety programs, our budget focuses on growing Lincoln's economic and cultural vitality. So we will be continuing our commitment to that economic vitality and growth, the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development, continuing to fund that important partnership with the Chamber. We'll be continuing to administrate our Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA, services that are managed by Dylan Wren, our manager at the American Job Center, and his team. It continues a Ticket to Work program that grows Lincoln's workforce by connecting residents with disabilities to job opportunities. So lots of ways that we're continuing to support business expansion and worker training to continue to fuel our economy. It's that strong public-private partnership that we think is resulting in these historically high business and development activities and steady growth that we see here in Lincoln. Continuing on that theme, in addition to specific business and worker support, we also invest in the improvements that support quality of life that those workers and businesses say that they want and they need. It's interesting when you talk to the chamber and they talk to other different chambers around the country and talk to businesses, quality of life, amenities, that's something that they're looking for when they locate. So it's not just tax structure, it's not just infrastructure, which are important things, but they specifically will ask about entertainment opportunities, about parks, about trails, about a vibrant downtown. Those things are economic drivers. So we are investing in the new South Haymarket Park. We're renovating 7 playgrounds and continuing funding for pool maintenance and repairs across the community. We're investing in downtown and our commercial districts and older neighborhoods too, all across town. We've got funding to provide targeted activation of those public spaces for events so that those exciting reasons to come to Lincoln and to enjoy things continue to happen. And as we mentioned, there's parks and trail improvements all across the community. So the budget invests in that infrastructure and the amenities that support growth, but we also need to ensure that we have high quality development review and support when those projects come through. So that public and private partnerships, what we've seen before, is helping with record levels of construction. Good information and fast turnaround are essential during the development process. Time is money. So to help continue those high levels of customer service, the planning department includes regular modest fee increases to be able to continue to fund their team. They use as their guide the Midwest Regional CPI. What they've seen in the most recent CPI is about a 3% increase. And so the fees that you see on your agenda today, very tiny, hard to see here, they're on your online agenda, but essentially they follow that 3% recommendation. So $233 goes to $240. $165 goes to $170. So again, that same theme of 3%, anywhere from $6 to $33, depending on the size and complexity of the permit in the first year. Second year is the same. Permit increases anywhere range from $6 to $34, the high end being if you have a complicated plan unit development with thousands of units, it requires an intense review. One of the most important ways that we support growth and development is through our street system and our infrastructure. Our budget always includes the 1 and 6 year streets and highway program. So I do need to take a minute and read. This is a required state statutory notice that has to be part of this public agenda, so please bear with me. This public budget hearing, including the Lincoln Transportation Utilities proposed budget and capital improvement program, fulfills the statutory requirement for the state of Nebraska 1 and 6 year streets and highways program. Residents have 10 days from today to submit any statements or exhibits to Lincoln Transportation and Utilities. Therefore, all statements and exhibits received on or before August 11th, 2024, not 2022, 2024, will become part of the public hearing record. These statements should be forwarded to Tim Byrne at Transportation, 949 West Bond Street, Suite 200, Lincoln, Nebraska 68521. Note, this applies to feedback on streets and highways, not other parts of the city budget. Tim is our streets and highways person. The state statutory requirement ensures that an integrated system of public roads is provided for the general welfare of the state, counties, and municipalities. The program is administered by the State Board of Public Roads Classifications and Standards. The capital improvement for fiscal years 2022 through 2028. Again, I apologize. This capital improvement is for fiscal years 2024 through 2030, and it reflects an average annual expenditure of nearly $41.3 million. This average annual expenditure is comprised of city revenues, wheel tax, impact fees, city share of gas tax, general revenues, federal aid, and other funds. So specifically now into what we will see in that CIP when folks have a chance to look into it and can comment to Tim Byrne, or they can comment here today. We know that street investments support hundreds of millions of dollars in private investment and development all across the community. This current budget that we have in front of us increases transportation funding for streets by nearly $3 million in year 1, boosting it to a total of $49.9 million. Year 2 shows the effects of Lincoln on the Move quarter-cent sales tax ending next year on September 30th. So it's $37.5 million. When the quarter-cent sales tax ends on September, that will just be at the beginning of the fiscal year. There will be a couple of months collected in arrears as sales tax comes in, but that's a significant drop. We've seen an average of $15 million in additional available investment through Lincoln on the Move quarter-cent, and we will definitely want to have a continued conversation with the community between now and then to see if they've liked the investment that they've seen through the quarter-cent, and if they'd like to renew that quarter-cent and continue to be able to make those investments. But we can't presume what the public wants, so the budget has to show that going away until the public decides that they want it to stay. We're also cultivating a strong and resilient city through sidewalks with a $1.57 million annual investment in both budget years. That ongoing work includes sidewalk repair, making ADA improvements to ensure accessibility, to enhance pedestrian safety, and promote healthy living. Regarding transit, as we talked about a little bit before, it's important to remember what StarTran provides every day to our communities. For drivers, it's a stable, rewarding career. For passengers, as we said before, it's a ride to their job, their school, their doctor's office. And for the broader community, it's cleaning up our air with our natural gas buses and our electric buses, helping reduce traffic congestion and minimizing our carbon footprint. Water and wastewater infrastructure investments, another very important way we support Lincoln's growth, our vitality, and our well-being. There are kind of two big, significant funds that we want to talk briefly about. One is the $215 million in infrastructure, engineering, land acquisition, and more for Water 2.0. That's our important second source of water that will help maintain future generations' ability to continue to grow Lincoln. Our community is projected to grow by 115,000 persons by 2050. So it will help us to be able to continue that growth and ensure that we have redundancy against storms, and then we have the opportunity for Lincoln to continue to grow independently of having to access other resources from other communities or other jurisdictions. Specifically then, outside of Water 2.0, this provides $47.2 million in water capital investment in year 1, $45.3 million in year 2. Some of the examples that helps fund, we are increasing our annual water main replacement in existing neighborhoods from 7 miles to 8 miles. You've got 100-year infrastructure in some of those neighborhoods. It's important that we continue to replenish and renew that. It implements 3 additional miles of new water main construction out into new areas for new homes and businesses. We're continuing our lead service line replacement, which we've talked about in the past few weeks, and encourage people to sign up for that program online if the program is applicable to their homes. It invests in 10 additional team members, including an additional utility engineering technician, and adds a Lincoln Water Systems satellite facility towards the south side of town to, in the event that there is a water main break or other repairs needed, we've got 2 different locations for fast response. Those water rate increases reflect what we've seen many, many years in a row now. We have a very steady and dependable 5% average monthly household increase for both water and wastewater. On the water side, for an average bill, that will amount to $1.67 a month in year one, an additional $1.76 increase in year two. Even with those increases, you can see when we compare how Lincoln stands both by state, by region, and frankly across the country, Lincoln's water rates are very, very low. We're in the bottom quartile even with those increased rates. So again, Lincoln citizens are getting a lot of benefit out of owning their own water system and operating it. On the wastewater side, there's a slight imbalance here. It has much the same reason. If you look at the two budget years, $71.9 million funding in year one, $14.8 million in year two. That's because we're doing a significant expansion at Teresa Street, $56.5 million expansion at Teresa Street. And like the vehicle purchase, we need to be able to show that money in the first year of the budget, even though we'll be funding it over both budget years as the construction takes over multiple budget years. But that will help us to continue to expand opportunities for growth, to make sure we're using the best and latest technology to keep that water processed and clean as it's returned back to the environment. Wastewater, again, 5% increase, an average monthly household cost then of $1.68 in the first year and $1.76 in the second year. When those are implemented, again, wastewater almost at the bottom of the list when you look at the regional and you look at the state comparisons. So again, very efficient use for the results that we get. Solid waste, another important utility. People may not know, but our Bluff Road solid waste facility processes over 300,000 tons of waste and serves over 400 vehicles per day. So that's a lot of activity and a lot of processing. We've also got other facilities, our Northwest 48th Street transfer station and our recycling collection site systems. So solid waste team does a really good job of diverting materials away from the landfill to more productive uses if they can. They can be composted, they can be turned back into fertilizers, they can be recycled, and things that need to be put into the landfill are put into the landfill responsibly, because we also have landfill gas collection, leachate management systems. So altogether then, they do their analysis. For the 6-year period for CIP for solid waste, you're looking at a $44.2 million investment. One of the most significant things that they'll be funding is they're opening up a new cell, right? So the landfill has, this expansive land. They open up a cell, they're active in it, they fill up a layer, they put dirt on it, they fill up a layer, they put dirt on it. When they begin to get that cell starting to get filled up, they open up the cell next to it. And when they do it, they need to put down the leachate liner. So they put down essentially what is a big membrane at the bottom of it. You might expect that's expensive when you open up a new cell. It's a $10 million investment, and that's one of the significant things that these rates will help to fund. What are the rates? Well, again, when they do their analysis, and I've got a breakdown in the slide right after this, but you'll see they'll be increasing in fiscal year 24-25, the landfill fee in the first year. The fees at the transfer station will go up by 50%. In second year, the transfer station fees will not go up, and they'll just have the landfill fee and the occupation tax. So to put that all in one slide, you can see what the current prices are. You can see in fiscal year 24-25, the small vehicle transfer station, yard waste, and construction demolition, they all go up. Those prices haven't been increased since 2019. And then they don't go up in the second year, and just the landfill and occupation taxes go up. When those combinations in the first year and the second year are put together, again, it's the 5% and the 5% in both of those budget years. This one's a little bit harder to see, but Lincoln is the teal. We're more in the middle of the pack here. So when you look at our comparisons, we still compare very favorably on these rates for what's provided back to the community. So strong infrastructure, as we've seen, is the foundation that we build on, but equity and inclusion are at the heart of our community values. We're dedicated to create opportunities for all residents, all backgrounds, and all zip codes, and to ensure that everyone has a voice in our city's future. So we're taking very deliberate investment in affordable housing, neighborhood vitality, and community well-being and belonging. Some specific examples: we're continuing our successful rental rehab program, which is rehabbing older buildings and older apartments while keeping the rents affordable in partnership with those owners. We're continuing aging partner services delivered to our growing senior population in the very successful operation at Victory Park. We're increasing our investment to the Joint Budget Committee partnership with a 3% inflationary increase and an additional $100,000 increase specifically for early child care programs. We take just a slight diversion off to the side. People ask about casino revenue. So for casino revenue, what we're seeing in our projections are about a $1.32 million projection in the budget years. That's what we expect to get in casino revenue. So just to remind folks watching at home, those casino taxes are split 70% goes to the state, 12.5% to the city, 12.5% to the county, and 5% is set aside for people that may suffer from gambling or an addiction issue. Well, our 12.5% then is projected to be $1.32 million. How do we want to invest that back into the community? This budget proposes to put $710,000 into affordable housing programs to be able to continue to develop new quality affordable housing and to rehab existing housing. It proposes $350,000 worth of that funding source go into parks. In the first year, that's park and playground improvements across the community. In year two, it's specifically for South Haymarket Park investment. There's $100,000 that we talked about before in early childhood education and care to help improve outcomes for families and children. If you add up those numbers, you'll get $1.16 million, not $1.32 million. We're purposely under projecting. We want to be conservative. We don't want to over budget for money that doesn't come in. So we leave a little bit of cushion on the top. And the other thing that we want to do is make sure that if Keno revenues go down, people make their gaming choices. People that want to go out and spend their money on gaming, they may go to Keno, they may go to the casino. If they make the choice away from Keno, then Keno might soften, and Keno helps to fund important library programs, human services programs, and park programs. So we want to make sure that we leave a little bit of cushion in there if we see that Keno soften and need to make whole on those other programs to make sure they're still able to provide. So additional investments in the service of cultivating an equitable and inclusive city. These are not casino funded. I wanted to make clear what the casino is funding. But we've got bus stop improvements, we've got ADA improvements, we've got resident access to parks, recreational opportunities, 3 new neighborhood parks, 3 new miles of neighborhood trails. We're continuing to support the incorporation of inclusive play equipment at playgrounds to increase opportunities, rec center school-age programs, CLCs, and library system and program improvements across the community. And last but not least, we continue to cultivate innovation and operational excellence at City Hall. We demand a lot of our teams, and they continue to deliver. We're using funding in this budget right now to upgrade information systems technology. We want to enhance our cybersecurity to make sure that we're safe. We provide an additional network system security administrator. We're funding safety and security upgrades at our library facilities, investing in city fleet software and hardware upgrades. Building and safety is improving their electric plan submittal, again, for that fast turnaround time. Transitioning to all digital processes within the planning department to continue to be efficient. Improvements to our parking system, competitive salaries and employee support and recognition programs. And as I mentioned before with those 2.77, some of those are additional part-time law clerk and additional resources for legal services to make sure that we get fast turnaround times in those customer support departments as well. Finally, one of the items on our agenda, we always have to conduct some end-of-the-year fiscal year business that gets attended to through CIP transfers. So as we mentioned before, August 31st, 2024, that marks the end of the fiscal year. We always need some end-of-the-year actions to recognize that the capital improved projects that have either finished or they need to be adjusted in some small way. So those are listed on your agenda on the links. Some examples. So there's 2 projects in libraries, both of which finished slightly under budget. So Williams Branch Library, that built a new library, they finished under budget, $4,280. Bennett Martin first floor carpet, finished under budget, $7,869. So good for Ryan Weber and his team. They brought those in under budget. They'd like to use those funds then to reappropriate them to make a CIP budget transfer of $12,149 into their new bookmobiles to make sure that they can outfit the interiors in the way they want to outfit them. So we're rewarding departments who have good fiscal stewardship with being able to make those investments still inside their departments. Urban development is a little bit more of a systemic one. So urban development has a West O Streetscape project. It has 1 funding source, but it has 2 project business units or buckets. One is for the streetscape and sidewalks, and one is for the bike path and trail. So the streetscape and the sidewalks are done. They're finished. They finished on budget. They want to take what's left of the monies actually now and CIP transfer it only into the 1 remaining bike path and trail project, because there will be none of that funding needed for the streets and the streetscape part. So they just, as far as being able to do better accounting, they want to transfer the money over to the single project so they can track that better. There are various lapsing appropriations. Again, I'm not an accountant, but I've talked to our accounting team. These are typically either projects that finished, so the further funding isn't needed, so you can lapse the appropriation, which is the authorization for them to spend the money, or it may be that the planned funding source didn't develop. You can look in the CIP sometimes and they'll have OF for other funding. That might mean that they have identified a grant opportunity that they want to go for. So they might put it in the CIP, go for that grant opportunity. They're oftentimes very successful, but not every time. So they may have gone for a grant opportunity or another funding source that didn't materialize. Therefore, we need to lapse the appropriation of the budget because there is no funding backing that project. They're looking for a different funding source. We lapse that one. You'll also notice that any remaining funds in the quarter-cent public safety fund are being transferred to the radio system. That's per the recommendation of the advisory committee that's been working for years on that specific program. So that's some examples of what's happening with the CIP end-of-year transfer item. All of this great work and investment continue to be in service of helping grow the great life here in Lincoln. So again, we're trying to support these outcomes to achieve the vision that we want by collectively reinvesting the community's resources back into the community in ways that they want to grow and support and serve them. We believe this is a fiscally responsible allocation of those resources. We continue to partner with our community members, many of which we'll hear from today, to cultivate Lincoln as that quality of life capital of the country. As a reminder again to folks that are watching, today is our budget public hearing. And at the end of the week now, Council will have an opportunity to submit any proposed changes to the Budget Office. Next week, they'll discuss those on Monday and vote on those on Wednesday, which then would provide an opportunity and some time for Finance and the Legal Department to translate those into amendments that can come forward and be ready for you then on August 26th, which is when the Council would take final action on the package before you and any amendments to the package that's before you ahead of our September 1st new fiscal year. Thank you for the opportunity. I know that's a lot of investment. I tried to move through it and try to be efficient. I and the budget team, directors and staff can answer questions if you have them now, or we'll be available later if you want to take public testimony, and we'll be taking notes. I'm happy to get back up and have further discussion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carlson. Really appreciate the deep dive and good description of what goes into this budget for this next biennium. Any questions or comments from council members? All right, Councilman Duden.
John, in one of those slides, you talked about the Lincoln being within the top 7 rating on rents.
Yeah, for renters.
Does that also, I just want the public to, recognize the fact that we had testimony earlier this year about Lincoln being bad with vouchers for rents and that sort of thing. Was that taken into consideration when they?
So I don't have the algorithm. I can make sure that I've got the source on that, and I can make sure I send it to the council. They're just supposed to be a broad brush of people that have recognized
Okay.
that. I know that's a nuanced conversation that council wants to continue to have with the conversation.
And then I have a question that rents rehab. The last time I asked anybody how many people have applied for that, the number was 0. But yet you're asking for $710,000 for that.
So we maybe mixed up a couple of projects. So the rental rehab program in south of downtown, so that definitely gets over applied for. That program where you get $15,000.
This is the one where they use city money to fix up houses.
Yeah. So there's a south of downtown program, right, where they have grants that are granted to fix up older buildings, and in return the owners keep rents at affordable levels. They project that they'll have probably 200 units that get serviced over the next budget year. That's based on the last year where they had over 100 units. And so they actually get over applied for. That's a very popular program. So
Yeah, I'd like to see that, because last time I asked about it, they said they didn't have any landlords applying for that.
well, okay. Yeah, I can definitely get you information on that, because I know for a fact that's an oversubscribed program. So we want to make sure we get you the best information available.
Yeah.
You mentioned growth an awful lot in the presentation. Do you have a slide that you could show the public how much Lincoln has grown in those years that you're referring to?
You know, I didn't bring one forward, but I can definitely find that out.
Okay.
We've seen an average population growth. If you take the pandemic out, we typically see a growth of about 3,000 persons per year. It's pretty steady over time, 1% growth over Lincoln's time. So it doesn't take long. Over a decade, you can grow us the size of a Kearney or Grand Island.
And then the last question would be, I think this is what's dear to the public, and I realize our cut of the pie on property taxes is only 17%, but taking into consideration the valuations on homes has increased probably substantially in comparison to
Right.
some of those other factors that you considered.
Right. So yeah, we've got to be fiscally sensitive to that. I know that we build our budget based on a 5% reevaluation, which is what we're hearing the assessor use, an average valuation across the community. So we build our budget based on an average of a 5% valuation. Of course, there'll be some people that saw more than that, some people that saw less than that.
Sure.
But that's what we built it
So
on.
do you know what the average has actually been from year to year?
Well, it varies from year to year, but I know what the assessor has told us based on this year is that they're projecting a 5% valuation increase.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Good answers.
A little bit, not everything.
Thank you very much. And with that, we're going to open the floor up for...
Council Chair,
Yes.
for the record, may I please read
Oh,
the resolutions and ordinances?
Yes, so we have a package of resolutions and ordinances, 8A through 8S, and 9A through 9D. And I'd like someone to move that we take a vote, we delay our vote or delay our action on that until August 26th.
Oh, actually, Council Chair, I just need to read the
Oh, you need to read them
resolutions
all?
into the record.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I'll ask for a motion.
We'll have the public hearing, and then we can do the vote after we have our public hearing. So I'll read items 8A through 8S. Section 8 is public hearing budget resolutions. Item 8A is adopting the 2024-26 City of Lincoln operating budget and capital improvement program, CIP, 1 and 6-year street and highway program. Item 8B is miscellaneous 24005, application of the City of Lincoln Planning Department Planning Director to adopt the proposed fee schedules for application reviews under Chapter 14.20, Title 26, and Title 27 of the Lincoln Municipal Code for fiscal year 24-25 and fiscal year 25-26, with an effective date of October 1st of 2024. Item 8C is approving the updated fee schedule for ambulance services during fiscal year 24-25. Item 8D is approving the updated permit fees under LMC Chapter 5.41, salvage, recycling, and composting operations, including salvage, recycling processing center, recycling center, consumer recyclables collection site, and commercial composting operations. Item 8E is approving the updated fees for opening burning permits under LMC Chapter 8.06, air pollution. Item 8F is approving the updated fees under LMC Chapter 8.08, body art establishments, including body art establishment permits, body art practitioner permits, and permit reinstatement. Item 8G is approving updated fees under LMC Chapter 8.20 Food Code, including food establishments, mobile food units, food catering services, temporary food establishments, reinstatement fees, and food handler and food manager permit fees. Item 8H is approving updated noise variance fees under LMC Chapter 8.24 Noise Control. Item 8I is approving updated fees under LMC Chapter 8.32 Solid Wastes, including special waste permit fees. Item 8J is approving updated fees under LMC Chapter 8.44 water wells, including water well construction permits, annual water well permits, water well repair permits, and variance applications. Item 8K is approving updated fees under LMC Chapter 8.38 public swimming pools, including swimming pool permits, new permit plan review, renewal, additional spa, swimming pool operator, and pool water quality tester certificate. Item 8L is approving updated fees under LMC Chapter 24.38 on-site wastewater treatment systems, including construction and repair of on-site wastewater treatment systems, cleaner permits, installer permits, and development area reviews. Item 8M is approving updated permit fees under LMC Chapter 24.42 regulation of property transfers with on-site systems, including review of property transfers with on-site wastewater or water systems. 8N is approving updated permit fees under LMC Chapter 28.02 regulations for illicit discharges. Item 8O is amending Lincoln Lancaster County Air Pollution Control Regulations and Standards, Article 1, Section 6, fees to update fees for required services to business and industry. Item 8P is establishing a new rate schedule for the Lincoln water system for purposes of covering operational and maintenance costs, including debt service and capital improvement program of fiscal year 24-25 and 25-26. Proposed resolutions to increase water use charges. Item 8Q is establishing a new rate schedule for the Lincoln wastewater system for purposes of covering operational and maintenance costs, including debt services and capital improvement programs for fiscal year 24-25 and fiscal year 25-26. Item 8R is establishing a new rate schedule for the Lincoln solid waste system for purposes of covering operational and maintenance costs, including debt services and capital improvement program fiscal year 24-25 and fiscal year 25-26. Item 8S is a resolution to increase restricted funds authority by 1% per Nebraska Revenue Statute 13-519. Section 9 is public hearing budget ordinances and related resolutions. Item 9A, amending Chapter 5.56 of the Lincoln Municipal Code relating to emergency alarm systems by amending Section 5.56.030 permits, alarm user to revise processing fees and renewal fees for commercial and residential permits. Item 9B is amending Section 8.32.150 of the Lincoln Municipal Code to provide for an occupation tax on refuse haulers. Item 9C is authorizing the issuance of 2024 municipal improvement bonds in an amount not to exceed $12,200,000. Item 9D is approving the transfer of unspent and unencumbered appropriations between certain capital improvement projects.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right. We are ready for open public testimony.
As a reminder, also those that have used or are using public transportation, please come forward and testify first. We do have one individual that had requested to testify first, and then Mr. Schmeling, you can testify after.
You may stay there. We have two microphones and appreciate folks lining up and taking advantage of both those microphones. And with that, if everyone would please state your name and if you're representing an organization.
Thank you. My name is Kathy Ashley, and I'm on a tight schedule for my paratransit ride home.
Okay.
I'm here today to testify on behalf of StarTran, and I know that there's a lot of information that was presented by John Carlson. You guys have a tough chore ahead of you, so I have a great deal of respect and admiration. First of all, I'm here as living testimony to the benefits of public transit in Lincoln. I came here in 2007 dealing with major medical problems, which has had me on disability and unable to work. However, during those years, I've been able to do community service. And one of the community service elements that I've been able to do through the access to public transit is to support public transit. So for the last 3.5 to 4 years, I have served as a community volunteer on StarTran's TDP working group, especially the one post-COVID where we were all wearing masks trying to decide what to do with improving StarTran. I served 2 years on the StarTran advisory board representing the riders' best interest and did a lot of analysis work, digging into information, interviewing riders, giving that information back to the board and to the StarTran leadership. I've also served on numerous committees. I'm here today not to ask you anything about specifically on the budget, but from my expertise in the service that I've given, I wanted to share with you as council members some of the things that you should consider when you're looking at the budget and StarTran. First of all, do no harm to any of those improvements in progress that are in StarTran right now. There was an enormous team of very dedicated individuals who worked hard to bring together the multimodal transit center, the temporary transfer relocation, the technology upgrades that were mandated by FTA, and stabilizing the staffing situation. Plus, there was the long overdue bus stop improvements. For 30 years, StarTran has battled constantly to deliver dependable, reliable services without having a sustainable budget, a sustainable staff, and poorly maintained fleet equipment, or fleet equipment that has gone well beyond its life cycle. Therefore, StarTran gained a poor reputation in its service to the community. The second thing I wanted to point out is that as board members, I'd like you to remember to place emphasis on all infrastructure. StarTran is an equal part of the infrastructure of this city. If you look at the history of the United States and you look at communities that have not supported their public transit system, those communities have died. They have lost their universities, they have lost their major business investors, they have died, pure and simple. We can't afford that here. Right now, StarTran technically only services about 50% of the city of Lincoln. None of the fringe areas of Lincoln are presently being served because because there is no growth or expansion in StarTran right now. And there doesn't look like there's going to be for a few years. However, with the advent of the multimodal transit center, things can and will change in our community because it will be a shimmering star on the vision of Lincoln. Don't let that investment that we have made go for naught. Keep it going, no matter what you have to do. So I say, if the budget is tight, maintain the status quo. Don't cut services, especially the route services. Don't cut operations cost. Don't allow backward regression, because that's where StarTran got into trouble in the past. And if we have to limit expansion and growth, to only do that until we have the ability to sustain growth and expansion in StarTran. We need to be able to serve the rest of the community. And I thank you for your time, and I wish you luck with your decisions on the budget. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Thank you very much, Ms. Ashley.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Schmeller.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the City Council. My name is Richard Schmeling, SCHMELING. I am the president of Citizens for Improved Transit. My testimony today will be on a fairly limited, narrow area of the budget, but it impacts the rest of the budget. I want to reiterate something that the previous speaker said, and that is the importance of transportation. I will tell you that one of your handouts that you will be getting talks about millennials. And one of the things millennials say is, in deciding where they're going to locate, they strongly consider the strength of public transportation. I will also tell you that recently the city of Omaha lost a bid for a major manufacturing facility because they graded low in public transportation. That's one of the factors that companies and enterprises look at. Now, I'm going to hammer on something to you. And what I'm going to tell you is that as the current amount of budget for StarTran now stands, we can't do anything to expand and improve the system. As the current budget stands, if we start service over there, we've got to take away service over here. That's unsatisfactory. We spent a couple of years ago $250,000 for consultants to come and study our system. They gave us a number of recommendations. One of the recommendations they gave us was Sunday bus service. That hasn't been implemented. They recommended that we do crosstown routes. That hasn't been implemented. They recommended that we extend service on our existing routes into the evening hours. That has not been implemented. And it won't be unless you give us the money. Now, I've given you another handout that I want you, I'm giving you a little bit of homework. And that one talks about the number of StarTran riders versus police calls and fire calls. When you look at the number of StarTran riders, we're talking in the millions of ridership. When you look at police calls and fire calls, not so much. Okay? So I'm not advocating, Tom, that we defund the police department or cut the fire department. What I'm saying is, let's build our public transit and give them more of a share of the money to try to make the system work better. I'll let you do some homework and you can figure out how much of the percent of our budget goes to police and fire and then to StarTran. What you're going to see, I think, is police and fire are huge, StarTran is teeny tiny. That is unsatisfactory. I am a user. I ride the buses. A lot of the StarTran riders can't afford to take time off to come here and talk to you about this problem. A lot of them have no political connections. A lot of them are uncomfortable speaking in public. So I'm here as a representative of all of those people. And I strongly urge you to do something more, do something better. I'm going to ask Benny Shob, I'm putting the monkey on his back. I'm going to ask Benny, when you get around to actually taking action on this budget, to add $1 million for this year and $1 million for next year for enhancement and improvement of StarTran. And I'm hoping that Tom Beckius or one of the others of you will second that motion and that you spend some time talking about it. It's really important for Lincoln. Madam Chair, I know that you're always interested in city parks. Our city parks don't do a lot of good if people can't get to them. And there are lots of people here in Lincoln that can't afford or otherwise don't drive a car. And we talk about workforce development. Doesn't do any money to have all these wonderful training programs if we have a bus service that can't get the people to and from work. We have a bunch of routes that quit running at 6 o'clock at night. If you work second shift, you can get to work, but you can't get back at the end of the shift. We have got to do some serious work on our transportation system. And I think I've covered pretty much everything that I wanted to cover. You have some additional handouts with some additional information, and I'm going to yield to the next speaker.
That's sad.
Perfectly timed.
Unless you have any
Mr.
questions.
I see no
Okay.
questions. Perfectly timed, Mr. Schmeling.
Thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Mary Avery. I'm also known to many as Mary Bell Avery. I have lived at 1111 East Hillcrest Drive for the past 28 years. I'm speaking in favor of the mayor's proposed 2024-2026 operating budget in general. I retired from Lincoln Public Schools in 2015 after serving as curriculum specialist for health and physical education for 21 years. I am not a numbers person. I do not enjoy analyzing budgets, so you may wonder why I'm here today. I am here today because I appreciate the written word and enjoy reading, editing, and occasionally speaking and writing. And when I read the mayor's summary sheet about the budget in the Lincoln paper, I was very pleased with what I read. The 5 areas of emphasis, or pillars as we educators often like to call them, caught my attention because they were words and not numbers. Although the safe and healthy city first appealed to me, given my career in health education, I'd like to focus on the strong and resilient city pillar for just a minute or two. When I read about how the proposed budget supports Lincoln as a strong and resilient city, the word that came to mind was sustainability. To me, sustainability means being able to keep something going because we have so many good things going here. But when I Googled the word, I found a really interesting definition that means much more to me. Sustainability is, quote, meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs, end quote. I believe the proposed budget supports sustainability in many ways. I'll just mention a few of those. Investing in transportation improvements, to echo my predecessors here at the podium, including one of my personal interests, bike lanes. Funding infrastructure to help secure the second source of water for Lincoln and the reliability of our water system, and I think this is especially timely given the concerns we had about our water system during the storm last week. Investments in wastewater improvements, solid waste management, and recycling systems, all of which appeal to the health educator in me. Investments in bike lanes, street markings, and trails for safe and healthy travel. Our trails system is near and dear to my heart. And finally, I'll mention funding for street tree maintenance and planting, and something that is also on all our minds, especially mine since we have a tree that fell in the street after last week's events. So in summary, I would just like you to know that I do support the mayor's budget proposal and applaud its attention to meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Avery.
Hi, I'm Amber Knapp, and I work at the American Job Center. I'm the operations manager for the Adult Dislocated Worker and Youth Programs, and we have a couple of customers that have come in to just speak on behalf of what the services have meant to them and how valuable the services with the adult program have been for them. So I'll go ahead and hand the mic over here to her.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Shoemaker, and I've been with Workforce for the past about 3-ish years. They helped me get into my get my prerequisites through Southeast Community College. And then I got into the Registered Nurse Associate Degree Nursing program at SCC, and they were there from the beginning. I wouldn't have been able to do it without their support and just their emails asking if I needed any help or just what's next, the next step. We wanted to get up here early because I have to go. I am a registered nurse and I have to go to work. I work the night shift, and Workforce has been there from the beginning, and I'm extremely grateful for them.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mercedes Alford, and I've been a part of the program for, I'd say, about 4 or 5 months now. And I'm now a full-time employee through them, so I went and did that, and I'm the outreach specialist, and they've been nothing but incredible to me. They're teaching me how to be professional, and just, it's nice being able to understand from personal experience, firsthand, and being able to relate to the customers and not just something that I learned. It's something that I've actually been through. And so it's nice being able to be personable with everybody and understanding. So
Thank you for coming down, Ms. Alford.
thank you.
All right.
Are you with that program?
All right, Ms. Kinsey.
Jane Kinsey, Watchdogs of Lincoln Government. Citizens of Lincoln, this is an evil, cruel, mean budget. There is no consideration of the effect of inflation on all people. Indeed, it adds to the already high cost of living. Look at your water bill, your electric bill, your gas bill, your garbage bill, your food bill, and see how difficult it is to manage a household at the present time. If you have rent and a mortgage to pay, it's even worse. The mayor stated in the Lincoln Journal-Star that this budget is cultivating the quality of life in the capital city. Ha, that's a laugh. How can it when people are struggling to meet their basic expenses? How can you have a quality of life with that? Almost every city service and department amenity has a fee increase besides the tax increase. Assessed valuations are sky high right now and will only increase in the coming year. Our property taxes so that the budget adds insult to injury. There was an issue about the casino income, which is not listed in the budget. Our understanding was that was to lower property taxes. There was some other discussion about what you're going to use that for off of the budget. This is not proper. It is not transparent, and it is not keeping the legislature's promise to the people. The mayor's budget shows no mercy to the citizens of Lincoln, rich or poor. It even increases the use of parks and intramural sports that serve children, young adults, and old agers. Is this the kind thing to do? Folks, that is also a budget of greed. The city has federal money from COVID still sitting in its coffers that is not being used. If there is no money, then tell us. My understanding that the last was that all of that federal money had not been used. In fact, we all asked you to give it back to the feds. When our leaders do spend money, it's not for the average citizen. It's for low-income housing. What is that? Apartment building that people don't want, most people. People in the United States desire an individual private home. The American dream has always been to have a plot of land and to build a house on it. This has been since the 1800s, when it was given to settlers if they would go to the Old West. Sure, we're a community that has a few millionaires like the Duncans and the Campbells, but most of us are hard-working folks who scratch for a living. Please email the mayor and the city council and tell them to cut this budget across the board if they have to, and have empathy for your plight in this situation of inflation. It is not going down, and people are going to be in difficult situations. We have to survive at the basic level before we add all of the perks and beautification that's listed in this budget. Short of their cutting the budget, throw the bums out on the next election. If they cannot see what is going on in the universe of the general population, then they should not be sitting on this council.
Ms. Kenzie, your time.
I don't know if their budgets are strained, but I would say that most of the people in Lincoln are working hard just to meet the basics.
Thank you, Ms. Kenzie.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to you today. I'm coming here as a private citizen, not representing any organization or business. My name is Susan Seacrest, and I am here also as a Lincoln citizen and a very grateful one, a lifelong Lincoln citizen. The Lincoln City government, I'm speaking in support, strong support of the budget, and I'm also wanting to speak in support of the action I think that was taken on the stormwater bond issue. I am a water person. Water has been at the center of my adult life, and it's been a great joy. I want to also thank Councilman Tom Duden for his very thoughtful and nicely given to me email response. Thank you so much. It gave me a lot to think about. Lincoln has long had a clear-eyed tradition of being a clear-eyed and forward-thinking community when it comes to water issues. I've already mentioned my involvement in water. I was involved in the Lincoln 2.0 project, which was a wonderful example of great stakeholder involvement from many aspects of our community. Again, I've already mentioned, I thank you for supporting the bond issue. I'm here to not only thank you, but also to ask you to fully fund this in the interests of water being water. We like to think of water in two different universes, but actually water is water. Wastewater can sometimes become drinking water down the road, and it's one water cycle. So I am grateful to all of you for supporting this important initiative. Water is life. Water is the quality of life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Seacrest.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Diane Bartels. That's DianeBartels. I'm honored to be here today. I do not come to City Council and voice my opinion very much, but if you can see my t-shirt, you can see that I'm here representing StarTran. No, well, yeah, the bus system. Yeah, it's also StarTran. Citizens for Improved Transit, okay? I've been in Lincoln as a citizen since 1960. I was educated here to be a teacher for 30-some years in Lincoln Public Schools. I volunteer now in the community ever since I've retired from my teaching in year 2000. I have adult children who live here, and I have grandchildren. I love this city, and I will never leave it except on a platform of some making, okay? In other words, when I die, okay? If I have my choice, okay. I only have a few points to make here. First of all, I would like to have you look at the money that you are proposing in your budget for StarTran, and also look at, I guess this would be StarTran's purpose or control, doing some changes with routes and the time frame, like Richard spoke to and Kathy. I leave it to Richard and people like Kathy who have really investigated, and they know what needs to be done. I will tell you, I look at it from the human interest side. Okay, so I don't know how many of you have bus dishes at a local restaurant in order to earn money to buy bus tickets for social service agencies, as well as the Lincoln Public Schools, naturally, because I still consider myself a teacher. We also have hot dog stands at various grocery stores. And so we really work hard to try to provide money for for free bus tickets, fare-free bus tickets. And it's a small amount, but at least it's something. And we feel like we're trying to make a difference. And that's all I think we can do in the world today anyway, as an individual. So I'd like to have you consider that. You've already heard, you know, people need to get to work, they need to get home, they have health issues, they need to get to school. There's all that, okay. And I guess I will say that for the grace of God, I think God's okay to say, right? It's diverse, open, or whatever. And for the grace of God, there go someone maybe like myself, or maybe even you, okay, who are in need of a better public transit system here in our city. I want to thank you for serving our community. I do appreciate that. And I look forward to hearing what your decision is going to be with respect to my request to consider for public transportation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bartles.
No questions, right? I don't know what to do. Here, tell me if I need to do something,
You're
okay?
good. Yep.
Yes, you've done well. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Corey Raymond, 12038 West Denton Road. It's R-E-I-M-A-N. I've been before the council a couple of times to talk about the baseball fields in Lincoln and softball fields. And I know a few of you have kids or played youth sports. The benefit of youth sports is immense. My son is here. He's not a prop. We're actually heading to youth football practice as soon as we get done with this. So I've been doing that for 10 years. And I know the benefit of that. My team is Allo, the one I coach on, and we're based around Lincoln Southeast. And it's really an interesting group to coach because we have such a diverse group of kids. We have the parochial kids that go to school there at the Catholic school. We have the country club kids, which will probably have a little bit more money, but also we bleed down into some lower income kids. So it's really interesting to see that diverse group of kids come together, make a team, learn about hard work, learn about responsibility, sacrifice, and that if you don't put in the time and the hard work, you're probably not going to be playing as much. And you start learning those life lessons. I didn't mean to come here to talk about football, but I transitioned that into, transition.
Kind of hard in Cornhusker territory.
So I'm here to talk about the baseball fields again. And, you know, does this work?
It does.
Okay. So I actually was, I didn't know if I was going to come down today or not, but I thought, maybe I'll come down and say how much I appreciate the council's work, considering that $50,000 that has been possibly proposed. And I also wanted to thank Councilman Duden for all of his hard work on this. When you have an issue with a retired police officer and a defense attorney on the same side, something's going on, that you might be right, because we rarely agree on things. So then I read Margaret Rees' article in the paper this morning, and I didn't realize this, but there was a proposed fee increase on these baseball fields. And I called Parks and asked them for this, and they were nice enough to send this over. And that's a nominal increase, but at first I was angry about it. I'm like, how can you ask for any money for these fields that are terrible? I mean, I look at it as the city's the landlord and releasing these fields. What do you need to increase the fields for on these bronze and silver fields? You don't give me a bathroom. You don't give me any place to sit. There's holes in the field. There's no grass out there. The infields are terrible. What are you increasing? I mean, you haven't spent any money on these fields for, if I rented a place and the landlord came and said, I got to increase your rent by 7%, and I would say, you don't even give me a restroom, and you want to increase my rent by 7%? Notwithstanding all of that, I would bet my house that every team in the city would say, we're happy to pay these extra fees if you will spend that on the fields, which you have not been doing for the past 10 to 15 years. So that's all I wanted to ask about. And I believe this was in the budget. This was proposed before I started yelling about this and whining about this. So if anybody's asking, I'm not the one to blame that I increased your fees. This was already proposed. I appreciate all the work, but on this presentation about the budget, and looking at the budget, there's all these investments in what we're going to invest on the city. The only thing that was mentioned about the fields is raising the fees on the fields. There's no investment in the budget of how we're going to keep increasing and better these fields. And there's a ton of kids that want to play baseball. There's a ton of kids that want to play softball. And, if you look at this, you're increasing the draft. I believe the city parks, according to the documents Councilman Duden got, brought in close to $50,000 just for the field draft, which is where the select teams play. And if any of that money was spent on the fields, I would love to know where it was, because I just can't see it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for everybody that's been working on this. And I do hope the city starts investing more into the fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ryman.
Hello. Good afternoon, members of City Council. My name is Casey Stover, and I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today in regards, I would say gosh, I can't even speak today. I support the budget. I'll start there. I support the budget, especially as it relates to anything growth and development related to our city employees. I am a leader at Huddle, and I lead their global talent and learning. And I'm here as a public expert today to speak to the importance of investing in your learning and organizational development within the city. As you look forward to the future, you have to recognize that the foundation of any thriving community is its people, and the city talent is no different. They're not only preparing your workforce for tomorrow, but they're also ensuring sustained improvement in your city. There have been significant strides with past investments already. We have hired extremely talented individuals to lead this work and to drive results. They've launched leadership development programs and have begun the work on foundational infrastructures around building skills and capabilities of city employees. I've had the pleasure of consulting on some of this work, and I've witnessed firsthand the positive impact already that has taken place, and I also see opportunities for future growth within these teams. Leadership development is the cornerstone of any organization, and the city is no exception to that. With cultivating strong and effective leaders within your municipal departments, the investment creates a ripple effect of positive changes. The leaders are equipped to drive innovation, increase efficiencies, and create a culture of continuous improvement. As they grow, so does the city grow, and they benefit from the enhanced capabilities of the individuals, as well as the inspiration that they provide to their teams, as well as the community at large. Investing in foundational growth is equally important. This involves building a robust infrastructure around the skills and competencies that support the city's evolving needs, now and long term. By providing the workforce with opportunities for ongoing learning and professional development, you ensure that they're well prepared for job challenges that are going to come tomorrow. It not only enhances the job performance, but it also increases job satisfaction as well as retention. And these are all critical factors in a motivated and effective workforce. Additionally, a focus on learning and organizational development helps mitigate the risks and compliance around regulatory requirements. A well-informed and a well-trained staff is better equipped to identify risks and adhere to any kind of compliance standards, thereby protecting our city from potential legal and financial repercussions. These investments are not just about development, they also translate into significant cost reductions. By enhancing skills and capabilities of our employees, turnover rates and associated costs of recruiting and training new staff are reduced, and additionally, well-trained, knowledgeable workforce can operate more effectively, leading to cost reductions in various municipal operations. These savings can then be reinvested into other areas, creating a virtuous cycle of improvement and financial prudence for the city. The impact of these investments is far beyond city walls, or the walls of City Hall. When employees are well trained and highly skilled, they're going to provide better services to our community. This leads to improved public safety, efficient public works, and enhanced community services, all contributing to a thriving city. We can't stop here. To sustain and build on the progress that's been made, continued investment is going to have to take place into learning and organizational development for city employees. By doing so, you're not only investing in our city's future, but also honoring the mayor's vision of a better quality of life for all residents. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Stoker. Good afternoon.
There's two handouts. I have two handouts.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure how we're doing this.
Just
Kent,
you go first.
Senator Har asked if we could do a tag team here, so.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So we're making it up as we go along. Anyway,
All
good afternoon. My name's Ken Winston. I'm appearing here on behalf of Nebraska Interfaith Power and Light and Nebraska Sierra Club. And should I go ahead, Ken?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, all right. Well, first of all, thanks to the administration. I thought John had a great presentation. And thank you to all of you for all of the work that you're doing to put together a budget. Obviously, there's a lot of pieces, a lot of moving parts involved here, and I appreciate all the attention to detail. I want to offer my support, or our support for the overall budget, but there's a couple of specific areas that I want to address. Specifically, we're asking for funding to address the causes and impacts of climate change. And there was a climate action plan that was passed by this council in March of 2021, and several of us have visited with you about additional funding in this area. And I believe that I would say that all of us would agree that the events of the last week have highlighted the impacts of extreme weather events, and that we need to be thinking about how we can mitigate those things. So here's our major interest. The Lincoln Climate Action Plan, the Priority Climate Action Plan that was put together last year, found that the greatest reduction in greenhouse gas emissions would come from electrification and energy efficiency in buildings. And the City Council took action on that 2 years ago, and Councilman Shobe offered an amendment to the budget that put $250,000 a year for a heat pump pilot project. And $43,000 of that was used to hire a consultant, and then the program was administered starting this January by the Lincoln Electric system, which meant there was $457,000 available to be expended on heat pumps. So there was $1,000 per household for the general public, and there's $275,000 in that portion, and then approximately $180,000 for low to moderate income households. And the incentive for the general public was $1,000 per household, plus the $800 incentive that LES offered. And then there was another $3,000 per household for low to moderate income households. Now, the one for the general public was entirely expended by May 21st of this year. Now, there's still another $75,000 in the low to moderate income category, which means, if my math is correct, that 310 people have taken advantage of the program so far this year. Now, that's more than LES was able to support in all of last year. So that's a pretty big deal. So what we're asking is that you increase the funding to $500,000 a year, so it would be equivalent to the amount that was being spent this year, which has already been spent this year in the first 6 months of this year. And so we'd ask that the budget be amended to increase that amount. So then, secondly, the second issue that I wanted to raise is a climate funding task force. Now, the state got a $307 million grant to work on climate funding, to take on projects to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And one of the components is funding for low-income energy efficiency programs. And another part of that, and I know that some of you are interested in this, is solar projects for parking lots and vacant spaces. So we would encourage you to work with the state and to figure out ways of allocating those funds. Another potential funding source is there's $91 million that's going to be available in IRA funds that the Nebraska Department of Energy and Environment is going to receive over the next year. And actually, it'll be expended over several years, but it's another opportunity for funding. So, and then there's the Solar for All grant that the Center for Rural Affairs received. So in any event, we think there's lots of opportunities there, and we'd like to see the council and the administration and the LES work together with members of the community to put together a task force that would address all of these issues. So, so that you could examine, in addition, you could examine long-term funding operations, options that could be, that in light of the potential budget and levy restrictions that the state may be going to put on. In addition, I just also wanted to mention that we specifically would support funding for the rental rehab program and more funding for parks and trails. And then I guess the final thing I wanted to say, and I realize my time's about up, is I want to invite all of you to the Prescott Area Neighborhood Association block party tomorrow night at 6 p.m., 35th and Calvert, 35th and Pioneers.
Are you performing?
Yes, with the one and only Jennifer Williams.
I'm sure
on lead
she
vocals.
appreciates the plug.
So.
Thank you, Mr. Winston.
35th and Pioneers. So thank you.
Thank you.
So, and I will turn it over to Senator Haar.
All right, the next, Mr. Ken. All right.
Okay, well, thank you very much for this opportunity. Ken and I teaming together are sometimes called Ken squared, whatever that means. So, again, first of all, I'd like to thank you for this opportunity and thank you all for your public service. And I know it's a great honor. I've served on the city council and the legislature, but it's also an enormous investment of time, so thank you very much. Well, I was a math minor, so I do like numbers. I know, can we get this? Okay. I don't see anything. There we are, okay. Well, when people my age go to the doctor on their yearly exam, one of the questions is always, like start at 100 and count backwards by 7. Okay, right. So, I was a math minor, it should be easy. I'm not going to look, so I'm going to get started. 100 take away 7 is 93, take away 7 is, let's see, 86. take away 7, 80, right? And then, already. No, okay. I don't do too well on that one anymore. So I'm going to take you to another one that's much easier. We're going to start with 2050, which is our goal date for, no more burning of fossil fuels across this world. And I want you to subtract 15. And what do you get? 2035. I want to talk about 2035. Whoops. We'll get this one here. Okay, this is using United States statistics, but currently 16% of homes in the U.S. use electric heat pumps for space heating. And to achieve the goal of no more burning fossil fuels by 2050, we need 100% of homes using heat pumps by 2050. And you can see from that graph, and I love graphs too, that by 2050, if we're going to get our goals, we're going to have to all be on heat pumps of some sort. But if somebody buys, now we're going to look at the sales of heat pumps. If you buy a heat pump, or let's say a gas furnace in 2040, which is probably going to last for 15 years, you're still going to be using fossil fuels by 2050. So this second one here, most heating systems have a lifetime of about 15 years, and to reach our goal of no more fossil fuel burning by 2050, this really surprised me. 100% of sales of space heating equipment will need to be electric heat pumps by 2035. Because anything after that, if you buy a gas furnace after 2035, then you're still going to be producing carbon dioxide emissions by 2050. That's only 11 years away. So here we are, 2024, and in the next 11 years, we're going to have to, we're not going to make people do stuff, but we're going to have to convince people that it's wise for themselves and for the environment to, instead of going with a gas furnace, that their next investment in, we're not saying to anybody, just sell off what equipment you have now and get heat pumps. We're saying when your HVAC system goes out, think of heat pump, because then you will help us be in this yellow area here after 2035. Again, any gas furnace put in after 2035 is going to help us miss our goal in 2050. And so that's what I want to do today, and what Ken Winston was talking about is we're going to encourage people to replace their old HVAC systems when they go out with air source heat pumps. Maybe not this time, but next time. And we're also asking you to expand the program, because it's not the sort of thing in 2040 we can say, oh, let's get, air source heat pumps. It's going to be too late. So we're asking you to expand the program to educate people and to incentivize people to go to systems that will help us solve the greenhouse gas problem. I learned from City Council, people don't want no mandates. We know that. But we'd encourage you to think about the next time your system goes out, to think of air source heat pumps, so that by 2050, at least most of the country will be on air source heat pumps.
Your time.
And then, real quick, I know I'm at my limit.
You're way over your limit.
Oh, God,
But
way over.
Senator Har, I'm so
Well,
sorry.
we had 20 minutes in the legislature.
You have 5 minutes here.
Okay,
And
I just you can look at this yourself, but in October, there's going to be the 6th annual Nebraska Youth Climate Summit. And if you yourself are interested or know of kids that might be interested in, we'd welcome you to consider it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Senator Har.
Excuse me.
I think we might need to. Chris? Excuse me, just one moment, process. Would you move the time monitor to the left so it's not behind the
One on the shelf.
the shelf
For the
Behind the
testifiers.
for the testifiers? I don't believe that's
Move it, yeah.
easily seen. Yellow means you have 1 minute to go. Red means you've reached your
Heather,
time.
what's the best spot to put it in?
It's fine, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah, we don't need the laptop. Heather, do you just want to shut that? Thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you.
All right.
Hello, counselors. Great to be with you today. My name is Ben Coons with Hoppy Development, 5631 South 48th Street. I just want to relay how important it is for the city to maintain a flexible, affordable housing fund at the municipal level. And if I may share this graphic, it just helps demonstrate my first point, which is that affordable housing requires subsidy. A fundamental imbalance exists between wages and construction costs. And to fill that gap, subsidy is required. Now, there's lots of sources of subsidy, but city funds are used to attract outside sources. Many outside sources require or prioritize community collaboration, which shows outside funders that a project has local community backing, and which gives them the confidence to invest. City funds are leveraged and go far beyond their individual dollar amount for any given project. I just wanted to show you real quick some of the projects we've worked with the city on in this regard. At our Foxtail Meadows project, city funds helped us to pioneer a new model for ground-up affordable housing by design mixed income neighborhood that delivers affordable housing action plans needed units in a significant way. This project involves significant innovation risk identified by our project funders as an unproven land development model. The city funds paid for costly arterial street improvements at the beginning of the project, the most risky time in a project's lifespan. This was critical in getting our funders comfortable with the project. Additionally, this project helped us explore and implement solar energy production behind the tenant meter to help offset the utility costs of low-income residents. Another project, forthcoming and not so far along, is our Center Terrace project, where we are delivering an enhanced building thanks to, in part, city funds. City funds, in this case, helped us leverage a lot of outside funding, which is producing things like our enhanced amenity package. The city funds helped encourage us to turn that amenity package public-facing instead of being exclusively for tenants. And so we're excited to present a project that not only serves low-income tenants, but we hope serves the neighborhood at large. And additionally, we're making innovative improvements here with the building systems. So we are implementing heat pumps and heat pump water heaters, two things that are hugely beneficial on the energy profile and should reduce utility costs for our low-income residents. So thank you, city councilors, for hearing this. We thank you for your ongoing support and commitment to the affordable housing crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coons.
All right, good afternoon, City Council members. My name is Heather Lockman, that's Loughman, and I am the Chief Executive at Community Action Partnership of Lancaster and Saunders counties. Many of you are familiar with the work that we do, but I'll recap. We provide programs and services across 4 areas of impact, including early childhood education, homelessness prevention, financial and family well-being, and hunger relief and healthy food access. Last year, we served just over 17,000 individuals. In recent years, we've seen indicators of increased need among our neighbors. More and more members of our community are coming to us for assistance with basic costs of living, including housing, food, and transportation. I wrote to you a few months ago about transportation specifically. In 2023, we completed a comprehensive needs assessment to identify the top needs among those we serve. Survey and focus group participants who were part of that process identified transportation as the top need and a consistent barrier to accessing services, accessing healthy foods and medical appointments, and maintaining employment. Several also shared open-ended comments that they unfortunately lost their employment due to transportation-related issues. Many of those we serve do rely on the public bus system to go to work, to take their children to school, including at our 3 early childhood centers here in Lincoln, to attend medical appointments, and so on. We appreciate that StarTran offers low-income bus passes, which make the system a little easier to access. But we're finding, especially recently, that more and more of our neighbors are unable to cover even the $8 low-income charge. After realizing this trend, we've been fortunate enough in recent years to purchase and distribute a limited amount of bus passes to those who would otherwise go without. In a 5-month period last year, we distributed 1,000 free bus passes and are on track to do the same this year. The impact this small amount of assistance has had on recipients' lives has been extraordinary. I recall one individual in particular, this was last year, who shared that he had been offered a new position at an organization a good distance from his home, but he didn't know if he could accept it because he didn't have a way to get there and wouldn't be receiving a paycheck for a couple of weeks. We were able to give him the pass, which quite literally enabled him to accept the position and change his life. Our ability to provide this assistance is varied and unpredictable. In finalizing the city budget, I urge you to consider decisions that would improve access to our public transportation system for all even further. A small amount of funding allocated to provide more consistent access to free bus passes would make a big difference for those we serve. It would not only allow folks to budget their hard-earned dollars elsewhere, but would also improve their ability to gain and keep employment, attend medical appointments, and access the many helpful services our city provides. Thanks for considering.
Thank you, Ms. Lofton. Good afternoon, Mr. Seck.
Hello. Members of City Council, thanks for having me. City Council Person Washington, thank you. My name is Brian Seck. I'm the Executive Director of Lincoln Literacy. We serve about 1,600 of our newest residents from 75 countries, teaching adults English and workplace skills. In fact, right now we have a CNA prep class going that works in partnership with the American Job Center, to where we help people get familiar with the certified nursing assistant vocabulary. Maybe they were doctors or nurses in their home country. They take our preparation class. We do not graduate people, we prepare them. And then we help them either get a job at a medical facility or we pass on to Southeast Community College, and they can help with the nursing program, the example you saw earlier of the young woman who went to work. So we're really happy to partner with the American Job Center and by extension Southeast Community College to help people reach financial stability. That's what we're all about. We're teaching literacy, we're teaching reading and writing, but we're also teaching people to learn the skills that they need to be successful in the workplace, which is actually why I'm before you today. So we work with the American Job Center on what's called the Incumbent Worker Program. This is federal government fancy talk for people who already have jobs but need to be upskilled. So I'll give you an example. I used to work at Kawasaki, and we would hire people into entry-level production positions. Problem is they would stay there because their level of English didn't allow them to move up into other positions where they're either training other people or working on more complex processes, being able to solve problems. They could do it, they just couldn't express it. So what we did at Kawasaki is partner with Lincoln Literacy. We're now in our 3rd year through American Job Center funding, and we do English classes on site, on the clock, at Kawasaki, specifically teaching vocabulary around safety, around how to propose solutions to your team leader, And in that 3 years, we've had about 100 people go through the program. 20 of those have since been promoted into assistant team leader, or quality control positions. A gentleman named Ramiro, who has an engineering degree from Mexico, is now under consideration for an engineering job. He came up through production. Folks are smart. They have the ability to be successful in the workplace. And what these classes do, through in partnership with AJC, is allow folks to learn the things, the vocabulary they need to do to be able to fully express themselves and be recognized in the workplace for the skills that they bring. We partner with Kawasaki and Bryan Health. We partner with Lincoln Public Schools, Instinct Pet Foods, and newly Heartland Gourmet, which makes cookie dough near the state pen. They have a factory out there. So we're working with employers who are hiring our immigrants and refugees, people who have jobs, and helping provide an upskilled environment. So what we wanted to share with you today is just that this really isn't possible without the partnership with the American Job Center. What this grant does is it leverages federal funds to where Kawasaki pays their people, and then the grant covers the cost of Lincoln literacy to be out there. We partner with the business to teach when it is convenient for the business. For example, we teach on Saturdays at Kawasaki. That's a slower day. At Instinct Pet Foods, we've taught at 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. We often teach between shifts, so shift gets off at 3. We'll teach from 3 to 4 before the night shift takes over, the 7 to 3:30 people and the 3:30 to midnight people. So we really meet businesses where they are. So we're not teaching general English, we're teaching very specialized. The other piece that I wanted to share with you that I think you would like is one thing I discovered at Kawasaki is it's hard to explain what a premium is to a person who's new to our country. If they know premium, they think of it as a good thing. Spotify premium. You know, different premiums, it's a better thing. But here they're having to pay for things. People are like, what? This isn't good for me to pay for things. I don't want to do this. And so what we do is we also teach benefits. We teach what a 401k is. We teach what health insurance is. We also teach career pathways so people at all of these companies can understand how they can grow. I'll leave you with one final example at Bryan Health. Bryan Health brought us in specifically because they know that people in their janitorial and nutrition staffs have talent. They want to promote them to patient-facing positions, and they're also multilingual. Everybody wins. However, they weren't really able to do that with internal training. They brought us in. Now people are getting promoted internally, and then they're taking classes at Bryan College of Health Sciences or at SCC, and Lincoln Literacy helps backfill those entry-level positions with people arriving into our country. So it's a really great example of how we work together through the American Job Center. I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions? Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Just as a process thing, we'll take 2 more, and then we're going to take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back refreshed for the next part of our hearings. So, Mr. Ogden.
All right, well, since Brian went over time, he can have 10 of my seconds, so I'll be short.
Right on time.
I'm Todd Ogden. I'm president of Downtown Lincoln Association, and why am I here? I think I'm mainly here just because I want to kind of relay positivity for our city. I think I am more positive about our city than I ever have been. I have the unique experience to get to work with a really premier public-private partnership, and we get to see the results of the private community working with the public community. Whether that be our police, we really get efficiencies by working directly with our police and how they can increase efficiencies within our downtown area. Our parks team and how we can take care of our parks, our transportation, and advocate for things like the transportation hub. So we've gotten a lot of direct results from that. So for us, I just want to relay the encouragement that we have a council and we have city employees that really know what they're doing, and encourage them to advocate with them and work with them. And we've seen a lot of that today. Even the partnerships with Brian and the American Job Center and how they work to enhance our investment. And we can't enhance our investment if our budget does not at least give us to base levels. And I think the city's been really thoughtful of, with this budget, of getting things to a level where if it's below level and we lose some of our services, it's a lot harder for the private community to get involved to take things to the next level. And I think this budget does that. So again, I'm just really really encouraged by and encourage everybody to continue to work with our city and continue to enhance these public-private partnerships. And let's get the private community involved as well on creating and making this city a better place. Yeah, I gave Brian a lot more than 10 seconds, so that's all I've got.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ogden.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Hi.
Hi, my name is Deborah Nicholson, DebraNicholson, and this is my husband, Mark. We are proud members of several environmental groups here in town, so we know Ken Winston and Ken Har very well, but we are not representing any particular group today. We are here on our own to speak in support of extra funding for sustainability, trees, and native plantings. All public and private spaces with trees or native plantings are huge assets for our community and serving as its lungs and air conditioners. We appreciate the extra funding in the budget this year earmarked for trees and tree care. And by the way, I just want to say that I did read the entire budget insert in the paper, and I'm so impressed with what you've done. Mark and I are avid golfers, so I'm glad I wore my black jacket so I would look a little serious about the topic of golf after following all these other people. But almost year-round, we walk 9 holes 5 days a week, so we know the courses really well. But we are even more avid environmentalists than we are golfers. That's why we are here to support increased funding to achieve climate and environmental goals for parks and recreation. And I'm focusing my comments on golf, but the same could pertain to all parks and public spaces, I believe. So, although the city's climate action plan does not mention golf courses specifically, we are glad to hear that Parks and Recreation Department has a plan to make the courses more pollinator and wildlife friendly. We hope it also has a strategy to be carbon neutral by 2050 or earlier, so golf courses can be part of the climate solution, not contribute to the problem. Since Lincoln City Golf is an enterprise fund within the city, no general funds can help with capital improvement projects at the courses. Profits from greens fees and funding from other sources are what will pay for the transition to clean energy and sustainability. Obviously, we would like to see those kinds of investments sooner rather than later in all parks and rec facilities. Here's what we have in mind for the golf courses. Replace gas-powered mowing equipment and golf course carts with electric. This already is on the radar of the Parks and Rec Department, the first step being infrastructure at each location to support the charging. Second, go electric on all new HVAC equipment. We know you had a 2015 assessment and had some new equipment put in at that point. We hope next time it'll all be electric. We would also like to see solar panels on the clubhouses and the outbuilding roofs and in other advantageous locations to provide direct energy source and long-term savings. We imagine they are working with LAS now, and to make sure that electricity now and in the future comes from the cleanest sources possible. Take advantage of the many opportunities for tree planting on the golf courses where trees can shade, cool, and protect in addition to increasing wildlife habitat. Convert more play locations at the courses, out of play locations at the courses from turf to native plantings. Areas of native plants need watering only in extreme drought and do not require mowing, so compared to the care of turf grass, they can save on money, staff time, water, and carbon emissions. Native plants add to our sense of place. They add visual interest and food for pollinators and other wildlife. The courses still have lots of turf that can be converted to native plantings. And finally, we hope to see the clubhouses using compostable, biodegradable products. Coffee in a styrofoam cup is really disgusting, I think. And then I guess we have one more comment, and I'm going to turn it over to Mark for that.
Yeah, I've got about 10 seconds. But I would like to give a shout out to a watershed management program in the city that's managed by Aaron Kubicek. And the program basically provides incentives to residents to maybe create rain gardens or to transition yards from grass to more native plants. And just a quick note, we're now in the process ourselves of transforming a beautiful, lush, green yard into all native plants. So we're hoping that that'll have a payoff for everyone in the long term, sustainability. Anyway, that's it.
Thank
Thank
you very
you.
much for all you do.
The Nicholsons were very efficient. 2 people, 5 minutes, 30 seconds. With that, it's 5 after 5. I'd like to call a 10-minute break, and we'll be back at 5:15. Yeah, please.
Sorry.
And now,
Good afternoon, Council Chair and council members. Thank you for all your hard work. Whatever they pay you, it's not nearly enough. I have utmost admiration for you. My name is Dan Sloan. I'm here in my capacity as president of the Library Board of Trustees, and I am testifying in support of the proposed budget. This year's budget reflects a stable funding and maintains the current level of service for a department that has 140 employees, 8 facilities, a bookmobile, and provides the best in print, digital collections, programs, and services. As president of the Library Board of Trustees, and more importantly, as an active, avid library user, I see firsthand the incredible value that our libraries bring to Lincoln residents. So much for so little, especially when you compare the library costs per capita for Lincoln taxpayers, roughly $35 a year. I've had the opportunity to look at other communities, and we get a big bang for our buck. The library team does a great job in meeting the needs of the residents. Our libraries are important to our neighborhoods. That's proven through the consistently high use of each branch experience. Last year, visits to libraries increased 14%, circulation increased 6%, and program attendance jumped 26%. Lincoln City Library locations are places that are alive and reflect the vitality, pride, and quality of life in each neighborhood. We hear over and over again from residents who appreciate the library's open hours. Most are open 7 days a week. The depth and breadth of the collection, access to technology and programming, and the ability to connect with others in a public and civic setting. The capital improvements plan before you has requests that will help keep library facilities modern, safe, and efficient, and reflected in the CIP's second year is planning targeted for significant facility enhancements for the downtown library and all branches. It's been 2 decades since major investments have been designated for library buildings. The need for major renovations, building refreshes, and expanded library services for Lincoln's growing population is real, and the time is now to take action and work together to reinvest in our libraries. The longer we wait on these projects, the higher the costs will be. I'm very pleased to see the attention given to libraries in the CIP budget for 2025 to 2026. Thank you for your service. Really appreciate your strong support for libraries. Switching gears just for a second, as a business owner in Lincoln, we employ a lot of people. Lincoln's investment in schools, in libraries, in literacy, in parks, in quality of life makes Lincoln an easy place to do business and an easy place to both recruit and retain people. And I think that's vital. I think this budget supports that, and I ask your support for it.
thank you very much, Mr. Sloan.
Yeah.
Any questions? All right, thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Tom Randa, and I am the Executive Director at the Good Neighbor Community Center. And I'm here in support of the budget, and in particular, the Health Department, the line for the Health Department. I do also serve as a member of the board for the Board of Health, and just trying to bring to light some of the things that the Health Department is doing. And another hat that I wear is that I'm also the chair for the Cultural Centers of Lincoln. So that's what I'll be mainly highlighting, because there are so many other educated people on the board that will probably speak better about other things. But allow me to speak in regard to that. So with the Cultural Centers of Lincoln, we've had a grant that has been passed down to us by the state for so many years. It's the Minority Health Initiative Grant. Most of you are probably aware about that one, and we were here in 2019 speaking to you about the funding being taken away and the challenges that would pose to what we are doing with our community, especially those who depend on that grant. So we asked for your assistance, and the health department really took to their heart to make sure that this funding came back to our community. So we're actually speaking between $600,000 to $700,000 a year that was going to leave our community. But the staff members there at the health department put a lot of time to make sure that we got this funding back. One of the things they did was to make sure that the executive director for the state health department came and sat with us as directors of the cultural centers, and eventually they had the community. So we organized community conversations in our community. These people who really need where the money goes to our community are the ones who got hurt. We had those community conversations, and that took a process of about 12 months, just listening to what the people in the community needed. And this was then relayed back to the state, such that this grant now just works according to what the people in the community wanted to be done. So that's a highlight of one of the things that the health department is able to do. And thinking of that, as a chair for the cultural centers, you know, working with 6 organizations it's definitely a lot of work. I don't have the time to write these grants, administer them, and then work with 6 organizations. The health department has done a wonderful job being the fiscal agent for the cultural centers of Lincoln. There are some things as cultural centers that we may not be able to have that are required of this grant, but through the health department, we're able to do the work that is obligated by those grants. Let's talk about the COVID season. That was a tough time for a lot of us. The cooperation that we got from the health department was huge. This included seeking new funding, and a big one that the city helped us apply for was the Advancing Health Literacy Grant. This was huge in educating our community about COVID-19 and what they needed to do. And then we started working on response for COVID-19. This included also organizing clinics, education clinics, vaccination clinics, addressing those barriers that are there for our community members that do not speak English proficiently. So those are some of the things that our staff members from the health department were able to come and assist us as staff members from our cultural centers to be able to do. Let's move forward to some of the things that they're doing with the New Americans. You've heard from Brian Seck and Heather on what they're doing with our new neighbors. The health department continues to do a great job with the New Americans. I remember when I was hired in 2007 at the Good Neighbor Community Center, one of my first meetings was attending the New American Task Force meeting. And this actually happened at the health department. They provided the space for us as community leaders for mostly nonprofits. And there we were able to work and try to address the issues that the New Americans are facing here in Lincoln. We've heard about the Welcoming and Belonging Plan. Most of you have heard about that one. And what I've seen is that a lot of staff members from the health department are very involved in those meetings. They are there to give their feedback as well, and we do appreciate that. Talking of data collection about what is happening in our community, how many people are facing poverty, mapping areas where we have healthy foods and stuff like that. The health department plays a big role such that as a Good Neighbor Center, when I'm trying to give out food, then I know where to take this food. I have 5 seconds, so I'm going to close it, but there's so many things I could talk about the health department, but I'm in support of this, and if you have any questions, I'll be definitely happy to answer those.
Thank you very much, Mr. Randa.
Thank you.
All right.
Good
Welcome.
evening. In the interest of those dinner times behind me, I will be as quick as I can with my comments. And for all of you, thank you, Madam Chair Washington, and good evening, members of the City Council. My name is Jeff Mall, Executive Director of Visit Lincoln, appearing today in my role as a member of the Mayor's Parking Advisory Council and supportive of the parking fee increases as part of the parking budget. Oftentimes, parking isn't overlooked as part of the overall experience in any community. Parking is a significant part of the community and visitor experience and often sets the tone for a night out for dinner, a morning at the farmer's market, or a movie night with the family in downtown. Safety, cleanliness, and management of these garages and on-street parking is something I am very proud of in our city, thanks to the Park and Go team as well as the City of Lincoln. Having incremental increases and a well-thought-out plan allows Park and Go in the city to continue expansion, improvements, and maintenance of existing garages, and any future adjustments in inventory as the needs of our bustling downtown area takes off. thank you so much for this opportunity, 1 minute in, and to speak to all of you. And thank you for what you all do for our city and the time it takes out of your life each and every day. So thank you for this.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon/evening. I am Jeannie McClure. I'm with ACEC Nebraska. That's the American Council of Engineering Companies. But I'm hearing all these great things about the city of Lincoln, and I was here for the budget overview. And I just want to tell you, I've been living in Lincoln since about 1990, and I love Lincoln, and I've had opportunities to move other places. I didn't grow up here, but I have lived here for 30 years, so I'm a Lincolnite. And I am a proud user of many, many Lincoln services that have been overviewed here today. So the water and the transportation and all aspects of the water, right? Because it's flushing and it's coming into your house, and it's all very important. Also the parks. I dog park every morning with 2 dogs, bright and early. The swimming pools. I am happy not to have used LFR, but I'm glad they're here for me if I need them. I benefit from the police, but haven't needed them directly very often, so that's really nice. And I would be remiss not to say how much I love the library system. So, I'm here on behalf of the Engineers Association, but as a citizen, I just want to make sure that you know how happy I am that all the services that we do have. Because so often, someone like me is here and only in their own interest of their work, but truly a citizen's perspective today. I also have the pleasure of serving on several commissions for the mayor. One, the Lincoln on the Move Advisory Committee, which is implementing that quarter-cent and oversight of the quarter-cent sales tax. I've been on that committee since its inception. I think 2018 is when we started that. And I am currently serving as a co-chair. I also served on the Mayor's Water Source Advisory Committee recently, Water 2.0, which was an excellent opportunity to learn all about the needs of the city and really the foresight that we're having to look forward and having groups of people of interest and expertise to shape that policy and shape those recommendations as they came to you and to the mayor. So I'm here today in support of the mayor's budget, specifically as it relates to Lincoln Transportation and Utilities. ACEC Nebraska works very closely with Lincoln Transportation and Utilities. We partner because our engineering firms do lots of planning work and design work for the city. So we are, the city is our client, we are your client, back and forth. And we work very cooperatively together. ACEC also helps provide training for those city employees at a rate that you wouldn't get other places because we just like to be next to the city employees and partner with them and make sure that we're having great communication. I would heed a warning, though, in the budget, there is that, cliff of when that quarter-cent sales tax ends. And that's a lot of money that will be lost from the budget. And I can personally see it used as I'm on the advisory committee, but very personally, as my street, Rathbone Road, just got paved on Friday. I have the selfies that I sent to Liz to prove it. So we can see it working throughout our city, and it's an important addition. I think I worry about what will happen if we can't renew that quarter-cent sales tax. So I will leave it at that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hello, friends. My name is Susan Larson Rodenberg, and I am here to speak in support of the budget for the Parks and Recreation Department. As a longtime advocate for parks and trails in Lincoln, I am speaking on behalf of the community today regarding the importance of the Parks and Recreation Department in the upcoming budget. Parks are not just green spaces, they are essential to our city's quality of life, offering recreational opportunities, promoting public health, and fostering community connections. There's rarely a day that I don't visit a park here in Lincoln. I was born and raised here. We live next to the Rock Island Trail and next to the Bishop Heights Park, so there's really no excuse for me not to get out there. I treasure my time in our parks. Parks gives me an opportunity for exercise, but also emotional recharge. Investing in parks, we've been hearing this common theme throughout this thing. I got here early so I could be number one on the list, but it actually turned out to be a nice little because I learned a lot about the city budget process by listening to people and John's presentation. But we've heard a lot about investment in our city and leveraging and public-private partnerships and how this really impacts our Parks and Recreation Department. Investing in parks is not only a direct benefit to all residents, but a strategic move that leverages additional funding. When our city commits to projects like South Haymarket Park, it sends a strong message to potential donors and grant makers. In fact, I know several donors will not give unless we have a substantial public funding partnership in the projects that we build. These entities are more likely to contribute their resources when they see that the city is also committed to maintaining and improving our parks. This collaborative approach maximizes the impact of every dollar spent. By investing in parks now, we create a foundation upon where the Lincoln Parks Foundation can build, raising significant additional funds for projects like playground upgrades, trail expansions, and natural areas. These improvements enhance our neighborhoods and offer lasting benefits for families, children, and all city residents. Parks not only add to our quality of life, but also are an economic driver to attract workers and families to our community and also to stay here, as Dan Sloan said so well. Increasing the budget for parks projects is an investment not just in green spaces, but in our community's future. This investment is a catalyst for further funding and a testament to our commitment to a healthier, more vibrant city. Thank you for your ongoing support for Parks and Recreation, and thank you for your service to Lincoln. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rodenberg.
Hello.
Hi.
You guys have made some upgrades since I've been here last. Good afternoon, evening, I guess, as we're now getting into. And before I get too much further, I also want to say that I teach accounting, and I still don't really enjoy budgets, so just the math people, evidently. My name is Tracy Core, and I'm here today in support of the 24-26 city budget and all of the good things it's going to deliver for our community, specifically for our neighborhoods. I've been involved with neighborhood associations and neighborhood improvement projects for over 20 years. Neighborhood leaders have always appreciated the work that city staff, the mayor's office, and the city council do to make sure that residents are engaged and the budget reflects community feedback. The 24-26 city budget does a great job of providing investment in the important services, programs, and infrastructure that neighborhoods need to continue to be great places to live, play, and raise a family. I want to thank the council and the mayor for the smart investments and policy choices over the last few years that resulted in making Lincoln recognized nationally as a community with a great quality of life. As Lincoln grows, the budget investment into the community should grow too. I find it puzzling when I hear someone say that local government shouldn't be reinvesting into the community when growth provides additional resources. Some people believe that revenue collections should stay flat, but that doesn't recognize that the reality that the city is experiencing this inflation as well. So good stewardship of our taxpayer funds is very important, but the critical question is, does the community get value from the investment of their dollars? In Lincoln, the answer is definitely yes. We get a lot of value from the smart and efficient investments in the city budget. Specifically, this budget invests in police and fire departments that are both recognized nationally for the safe and healthy city they help create. This budget supports strong neighborhoods by investing over $1.5 million in sidewalk repair and maintenance. It provides funding for parks, trails, and playgrounds that neighborhood families and kids depend on for safe, healthy activity. This budget improves neighborhood safety, not only by including significant raises for public safety responders, but also by providing for mental health support and other public health programs that help them do their work to keep us safe. In addition, we are funding important neighborhood services like libraries, pools, community centers, and senior services. The small utility fee increases in the budget continue to benefit both older and newer neighborhoods. My understanding is this budget provides over 8 miles of water main replacement in older neighborhoods and hires additional water and wastewater field staff to deal with maintenance and repairs. That's really important when you realize some of our water main lines are over 100 years old. Lincoln Water System is also replacing dangerous lead water service lines in older parts of town that pose a significant health hazard to kids and families. This budget also includes funding to increase water quality and continue planning for a second water source to keep our water supply safe and flowing. We needed reminded, I guess, maybe last week, Mother Nature thought. That's a lot of value in support of strong neighborhoods in our community now and into the future for a small increase in fees. There are fee increases that help support important programs too. I sometimes hear people say that lower income families will be hurt by even small fee or service charge increases, and I agree that we should be mindful of that. You should also consider, however, that those same families may very well want to contribute an extra $1 a month through utility bills or other program fees to ensure that their neighborhood amenities and utilities are reliable and available. As far as parks program fees, remember, many programs provide reduced rates and scholarship assistance to help ensure everyone has a chance to participate. In the end, we all contribute a little in order to generate a lot of community benefit. I'm happy to say that the 24-26 budget does just that. It supports our continued economic growth and it invests for our future. Thank you for your service. I know this is a long day for you guys and your hard work on the budget. I urge you to pass it with the current levels of investment across our community. Your support of the budget will, in turn, support Lincoln's steady growth and high quality of life. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gore.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening. My name is Emily Deeker. I'm here in the capacity. I serve as the Star Train Advisory Board Chair. Sorry, I'm standing in line, trying to get rides for kids while I was standing in line. So I'll try to keep this short because I do have somebody have to get to a location here by 6. So I'm here as Star Train Advisory Board Chair in support of the operating budget that they have put forward to you. I'd like to note that this budget just allows them to maintain service levels for the next few years. You've heard much more compelling testimony from Richard and Miss Ashley today about people who actually use the bus and how it impacts their lives on an everyday basis. I think that's really important that you hear that, and advise you to come to an advisory board sometime and hear from the public that we often get to hear from. But while this budget, and I'm supportive of this budget, includes continuing operation, as Miss Ashley proposed to you, I want you to start thinking about what is the next budget cycle represent, because we are in a moment in our public transportation system where we need to think about growth. We need to think about the community that we're not serving. We are serving primarily a population that needs that service all the time. You have people who do it just because they like public transportation, but you've heard from job impact. You've heard about how we're trying to grow. Millennials want to use public transportation. It's important that we start to think about investment, not just maintaining status quo. I'd also just like to recognize the Star Train employees, the leadership, and the people who work every day on the buses, in the maintenance yard. They are doing amazing work, representing this city on a daily basis, being out there all day long, being in heat, working in conditions where we haven't given them all the tools as a city to operate at a function where I think we should be. We have great parks, we have great libraries, we do all these things. We need to invest more in our public transportation system. And I just wanted to recognize the hard work. They have modernized their systems. They have improved the type of buses that they're using to increase the to promote the climate action plan with electric buses, new CNGs. They have worked with our disabled communities to make sure that they're providing service and respond to their concerns. So I'd like to give a shout out to the leadership and the people who are working every day. And just, it's time to start giving them something more to work with than just the status quo. So thank you again for your service. I know what it's like to serve on boards. You guys are elected, but I think that's appreciate your time that you do for us, and thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Deeker.
Hello. My name is Jonathan Peterson. I am the chair of the Parks and Recreation Citizen Advisory Board. So I too am no stranger to meetings with a lot of public engagement. See Woods Park debate. I shouldn't even say it. I am here to advocate for sustained funding for the Parks and Recreation Department in the next budget cycle. My wife and I own a home in the Echo Park neighborhood, so like 48th and Holdridge area. We love to walk our 2 dogs around the neighborhood to the 2 little parks that are within walking distance of us, or if we're in the mood for a longer walk, Wilderness or Holmes Lake, depending on how muddy we want our shoes to get. It's not unheard of for my in-laws to drive up from Kearney to enjoy the city pools. But really, I have really enjoyed, as the chair of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, getting to know some of the park staff and getting to hear them present, and just seeing how passionate they are about what they do, how much they care about the city, how much they care about, especially, I feel like the program staff are really enthusiastic and love talking about the impact that they've made on Lincoln's kids. And that's been a lot of fun over the last 5.5 years that I've been on the board. The value of investing in our parks and recreational services is immense. The facilities and the programs that Parks and Rec provide play a crucial role in enhancing the community's quality of life. I love to see us investing in quality of life. They provide recreational opportunities, they promote physical health, and also foster social connections. So they serve as vital spaces for residents of all ages to engage in activities that contribute to their well-being and happiness. And as our city evolves, maintaining and enhancing our parks and recreation resources should remain a top priority. Adequate funding ensures that these services continue to meet the needs of our growing population and contribute positively to the community fabric. So I'll keep it brief, but I wanted to thank you for your consideration. I hope that you will consider the importance of investing in quality of life, especially Parks and Rec, but I can take off my Parks and Rec hat for a moment and say I agree with a lot of the people talking about public transportation and other ways to improve quality of life here in the city. Hat back on. Supporting the Parks and Recreation Department is an investment in the health and vitality of the entire community, and I appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Ms. Benner.
Yes, hello, my name is Anastasia Finner. I'm not going to share my address for safety concerns. Hearing the budget is now a great time to explain how the City of Lincoln gives money to General Dynamics to do genocide for the State of Israel. We have already heard today about the private-public connection between the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development and the Lincoln Manufacturing Council that promotes General Dynamics. And to kind of better explain how the City of Lincoln is monetarily complicit and has put nothing in this budget to actually try to divest from the genocidal war machine, I just want to read an article from Select Lincoln titled "Growing New Pathways with the Lincoln Manufacturing Council." And the Lincoln Manufacturing Council does promote General Dynamics, who we know has killed children in Gaza. So this article goes on to say, one of the most important ways to grow our community is through the availability of local employers to offer jobs that attract people from all walks of life. Whether it is a high school kid looking for their first job or someone wanting to switch up their field, pathways to success continue to shape our community, a continued economic prosperity as a community. Lincoln Manufacturing continues to play a vital role in Lincoln's economy, which ultimately led to the formation of the Lincoln Manufacturing Council in 2019, composed of a group of 15 council-member businesses, 6 supporting businesses, and 2 community partners. The bottom line is manufacturers are looking for labor, and the pool of candidates is decreasing. So are the pathways and pipelines created. So how are the pathways and pipelines created to get people interested in manufacturing? So the Lincoln Partnership for Economic Development oversees the implementation and operation of training classes offered, helping companies find skilled workers with MFG certificate. The classes offered and certification serves as an introduction to the industry. So this article goes on to continue to illustrate how the partnership between the Lincoln, so many acronyms, Partnership for Economic Development and the Lincoln Manufacturing Council work together to supplement people to go and work for these companies. One of these companies is General Dynamics, which we know is killing people. It is involved with an apartheid state. The international community, multiple times, has called Israel an apartheid state. So there is I don't approve of this budget because there is nothing in here that is stopping the city of Lincoln from being complicit in genocide, right? There's nothing in here saying that all of the manufacturing that we're going to do is not going to go to manufacturing bombs. Because at General Dynamics, which is located on Industrial Avenue and Superior Street, right across the street from a Walmart, where children ostensibly go. So there are innocent people just hanging out near a weapons manufacturer that we know is going to go and kill children. From Lincoln, Nebraska, these bombs go and kill children. Why has there been nothing in the budget to ensure that our tax dollars are not going to kill children? There is nothing there. You also have lied multiple times to our faces saying that there is no connection between the Lincoln City money and General Dynamics. Your own website and the meeting today has said that there is a private-public partnership. So yes, the Lincoln Manufacturing Council might not be y'all, but that doesn't mean that they don't also use city money. So where is the guarantee that city money is not going to be used to blow up disabled people, to blow up children, to burn people alive? That is what those Hellfire missiles that are partially built in Lincoln, Nebraska does. And that makes you all responsible. It is incredibly disturbing that we have been coming here for months and no one has said anything, no one has proposed anything in the budget to actually try to make sure that we're saving money by saving lives. Liars, cheats, frauds, scoundrels. There's no other way to put it than like this is an absolute disgrace, because you are intimately aware of what's going on, and you can't say that you're not, because we've been making you aware. So are you gonna maybe try to cut out genocide of the budget, or are you gonna leave it in?
Thank you, Ms. Fenner. Is there anyone else here to speak on the 2024-2026 proposed budget for the city of Lincoln?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
seeing no one else coming forward, I would move adjournment.
Before we adjourn,
sorry.
I would like to get back to a motion that we need. We have a number of items on our docket, 8A through S and 9A through D. They are the resolutions and ordinances that accompany the budget. And I would like a motion to delay the vote until August 26th.
Yes, sorry, Madam Chair, my apologies. I would like to make a motion to delay those items. That would be items 8A through 8S and 9A through 9D to August 26, 2024.
I'll second that.
Duden, second. All right. Is there any discussion about moving the vote to August 26th? Mr. Show.
Madam Chair, thank you. So we're delaying action tonight. We will vote only, action only, no public hearing on the 26th. Make sure I'm correct.
That is correct, as I understand it.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I wasn't clear.
No,
With no
just
public
make sure.
hearing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And between now and then, we will look at the public testimony we've gotten tonight. Council members have until Friday at 3 o'clock to enter in any amendments for changes to the budget. Any amendments that come in by 3 o'clock Friday afternoon, this Friday, we will hear and we will discuss next Monday afternoon, and we will vote on next Wednesday afternoon. So you can pay attention to those next couple of steps, and then the final budget vote will be on August 26, 2024. That meeting begins at 5:30.
Madam Chair, I would move adjournment.
I need to vote.
We have to vote on the motion to delay.
I'm sorry, you guys. I'm not doing well today. I apologize.
More calories, a little bit more caffeine. All right.
Brain's a little fried.
Shoop,
Yes.
Bowers, Duden.
Yes.
Thank you. Carlson.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
All right. Now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I'll move to adjourn.
Way to go, Tom.
Second, Carlson. Any discussion about that? Seeing none, Madam Clerk.
Duden.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Schob.
Yes.
Weber.
Yes.
Beckius.
Yes.
Washington.
Yes.
Motion carried 6-0.
We are adjourned.